She probably doesn't ask about them, because she'll have to talk about herself as well. Perhaps she has reservations due to the reason why she's being pursued. Well, I'll just wait until she's ready to talk about it and leave it at that. For now, I got to learn that we were heading towards the city of Catania in a country called Belter Kingdom. Come to think of it, I've already heard of the city's name from her earlier, but it's my first time hearing about the name of the country. It seems she's going there to visit a relative. I see. So I guess she's going there for some business, and will visit her relative along the way. Incidentally, the area we're traveling on right now is not the territory of any country. If it had places with fertile lands, it might have already been claimed by pioneers. But since the area is fairly mountainous, and did not seem to possess any area suitable for growing produce, it's been ignored up until now. The common language used in the Berta Kingdom is the same as what we're using right now. As far as Cleria's knowledge goes, there's no neighboring country unfamiliar with the language we're speaking. I see. So that's why Cleria thinks I'm not from this continent. The form of currency is also the same, small and large copper, silver and gold coins, as well as the most valuable white gold coins. 10 small coppers are 1 large copper coin, 10 large coppers are 1 silver coin, and so on. The value rises from copper, silver, gold and white gold respectively. I wonder what type of alloy is used in white gold coins. It seems they call their currency here the guinea. By the way, we now currently have 5 large copper coins, 5 silver coins, and 5 gold coins. That's a total of 55,500 guineas. When I asked her how much a piece of bread would cost, she answered with "I have no idea." Has she really never bought bread before? It either means she had no money to buy them, or just didn't have the opportunity to. It's probably the latter. Well, now that I'd had a good look at her, Cleria really seems to fit the image of a highborn lady. The clothes she was wearing seemed expensive, and her sword was intricately crafted. I wonder why I've never noticed until now. Well, maybe it's because of her miserable appearance when I first saw her. Made such an impression on me, so the image of her being a pitiful girl stuck to me. Until now, I thought Cleria was just the youngest member of a mercenary outfit, but is that really the case? She may be a noble lady and those companions of hers might have been her escort. But why would a noble lady wear something like armor? Nah, this is an underdeveloped planet. Arming oneself while traveling may be common sense here. I can't just keep seeing things based on my standards. While I was thinking about those things, we've finally managed to get a glimpse of the main road. We have to maintain our vigilance from here on out. But since we have scanning magic at our disposal, things were a little better on the security front. Currently, the maximum scanning range caps at 700 meters, since the atmospheric magical interference becomes unmanageable at greater distances, and the accuracy drops considerably. But if we set the scanning target to larger objects, it would be possible to increase the range a bit. The road has many blind bends, so having a scanning range of 700 meters should give enough time for us to get away, or hide once we detect danger. We've now managed to reach the main road. I and Cleria started walking on it without encountering any particular trouble. I've been curious about it since before, but what exactly is that? Cleria pointed at my pulse rifle and asked me. Oh, this. It's basically a kind of weapon. I can't exactly explain how it works though. But Cleria's eyes gleamed with sparks of curiosity after hearing my answer. What kind of weapon is it? Just how do you use it? If you hold it like this and aim it at an enemy, something like a magic arrow would be released. I performed a mock aiming pose. Wow! So it's a magic tool. Magic tool, you say? That's another unfamiliar term. Can I touch it? I took the rifle off my shoulder and handed it over to Cleria. Of course, since the rifle is registered under me, no one else would be able to fire it even if they pull the trigger. Cleria imitated my form and posed with the rifle. Can I try firing it? Sorry, but the number of shots this thing has is limited. It's kind of like a trump card of mine, so I don't want to waste shots if possible. Come to think of it, how many shots does this rifle have left anyway? Well, that number seems to be sufficient, but it certainly won't last for a lifetime. If I fired 500 shots on average per year, it'll just last me 10 years tops. I have to use it sparingly. So this is your trump card, Alan. I can't use it then. Cleria handed back the rifle to me. I immediately asked about those so-called magic tools I heard from earlier. It seems magic tools are equipment that can activate magic on their own and have lots of types with various functions. There are tools used for watering plants, lighting a fire, and even producing light. In order for them to function, they would need a power source. That power source is magic stones. So it seems magic stones are akin to batteries in this world. That's why they are so in demand. However, although it also depends on the type, most magic tools are very expensive. There are also kinds classified as artifacts, which cannot be reproduced using current techniques, and are basically priceless. Man, I'd sure like to get a look at some in the future. Whoa, looks like it's already noon. Time for lunch. Perhaps the reason why Cleria seemed restless since a while ago is because she's hungry. Today's lunch is stir-fried veggies with plenty of blackbird meat and salt-grilled salmon. I made these along with our breakfast earlier in the day. I packed them inside the makeshift cups I made out of the damaged PET bottle in place of a lunchbox. Delicious. Speaking of foodstuffs, I put whatever edible stuff we found along the way inside my ingredient bag. I'll use them to make dinner. We have a lot of blackbird meat left after all. It'll probably be fine if I cook it well. I wanted to find out if Cleria's appetite was back to normal and tried to test her earlier when we had breakfast. I made the usual large amount, and she gobbled them all up easily. She probably won't be satisfied with just plain vegetable stir-fry without any meat, huh? Can't be helped. I'll try to hunt some animals down along the way then. We started walking again after finishing our lunch. There's still a lot of things I want to ask. A road sign appeared the moment I thought it was time for us to find a place to stay for the night. It was already 4 in the afternoon the last time I checked. The road sign was a wooden pole and board with characters written on them. I had Cleria take a look. It says 2 kilometers to Tala's village. Ooh, a village. I definitely want to go there. Did you know there was a village here, Cleria? I didn't. But we did sometimes stay in villages when I was traveling with my companions. She'd probably left all of the work to her companions, huh? Anyway, this is a good thing. I actually thought we'd have to walk all the way to our destination earlier. Should we make a stopover? All right. I'm fine with it. Yeah. I'll finally get in contact with other people aside from Cleria. I'm looking forward to it. The side road which leads toward the village was a narrow one, with a width of about 2 to 3 meters, and continued to a fairly steep uphill slope. After walking on it for a while, my scanning magic managed to detect something. It doesn't seem to be human. Cleria, there's a reaction in that direction, about 500 meters out. It may not be human. Understood. We carefully scaled the slope. After climbing for about 100 meters, something which looked like a big boar suddenly jumped out from the side of the road. I zoomed in on it to check it out. It's huge. It's the largest big boar I've ever encountered. It should be at least 100 kilos. Can animals really grow to this large a size? It seems it's noticed us. It started pawing the ground with its front hoof and bared its aggression towards us. Honestly, why the heck are these things so aggressive? Well, I guess it's convenient for us anyway. I'll finish it with magic. Got it. Cleria responded as she drew her sword. Did you really catch what I said, Ms. Cleria? As we inched closer to it, it also slowly drew itself towards our direction. When we came within 50 meters of each other, the big boar broke into a full charge. But I've already anticipated that. My magical reserves are already prepared. Let's cast Flame Arrow then. Can I make it so it fires off just 1 arrow instead of 3? Let me try it then. Flame Arrow, fire. The flame arrow struck the big boar's head dead center when it came within 15 meters. However, its momentum was too strong, so it kept heading straight for us. That looks nasty. We'll definitely die if we get run over. We hurriedly moved to the side to avoid it. The single-shot, concentrated flame arrow experiment was a success. The rate of magical consumption was about the same as a single fireball spell. This looks nice. I'll use it more often from now on. Alan, that magic just now was. I tried condensing all 3 flame arrows into a single shot. May I try to learn it? Is it easy to use? It just needs a little practice, Cleria. The magic consumption is about the same as a fireball spell. When Cleria heard me, she immediately lost herself in thought. Oh, right. Let's use this big boar as a souvenir when we arrive at the village. Let's head to the village first. Cleria nodded in agreement. After walking for a little bit more, I got a response from a magic scan once again. This time, it looks like it's human. There are quite a lot of them. About 200 or so, give or take. There are also some smaller signals. Should be children or domesticated animals. As we walked further, we finally saw a village surrounded by a fence made out of logs. The height of the fence is about 3 meters, and several wooden houses could be seen beyond it. There were 2 people manning a wooden gate, which seemed to be the entrance to the village. As we came nearer, the people finally noticed us. Stop right there. YA people. It was a middle-aged male villager. We're just some travelers. We were hoping to get some rest in your village for a while. He was eyeing me in suspicion. I'm wearing my black jumpsuit right now, so I must look weird to them. He faltered a bit when he got a look at Cleria, who was standing behind me. We just killed a ridiculously large big boar back there. I'd like you guys to help me carry it back. Why serious? A really large big boar. I'm telling the truth. We can go together if you want. The middle-aged man talked to the youth beside him. The young man started running back inside the village. I just told him to call for more guys. Just wait there for a bit. Got it. I raised my hand in answer. But the way this guy talks is a bit different. Did he have an accent or something? After a short while, it seems some villagers finally arrived. The gate opened slightly, and the ones who came out were just the middle-aged uncle and the young man. Both of them carried things that resembled spears. Let's go. Over here. We went back the way we came and guided the two villagers. We reached the place where the big boar fell dead soon after. There's no mistake in it. This guy's black speckles. This thing has a name. It's not some pet, is it? Well, it did look to have a lot of black spots on its hide. Are you familiar with this guy? Yeah. This guy did in quite a few of my mates. Phew. That's a relief. It looks like it's not a pet after all. Hey Beck, go call out 10 men and a cart, the uncle instructed the young man, who then promptly ran back again. Are ye really sharing this with us? Yeah. I'll just get enough for tonight's dinner and tomorrow's breakfast. The rest are yours. Ye really sure we can have most of the meat? Ooh. Also, I'd appreciate it if you could give us some preserved foods. And I don't suppose you can spare us a place to stay for the night as well. That'll be easy. The name's Zach, by the way. Cleria stepped forward at this moment. My name is Rhea. This man is Alan. We'll be in your care, good sir. Oh, it's a good idea to use a pseudonym. That's good thinking, Cleria. Zach was a bit taken aback when he heard her speak. Likewise, milady. Zach's tone became all formal. At that moment, the young man from earlier brought back 10 able-bodied men and a cart with him. The villagers surrounded the big boar and started making a fuss. All right, mates. Let's take this thing back to the village. Heave. It looks like Zach is a leader figure here. The villagers proceeded to tie up the big boar with rope and began to work on it with an experienced air. I also helped out until we finally managed to get it loaded onto the cart. Everyone then headed back to the village while pushing the cart forward. It was hard labor since the way back was steep. The wooden gate was already open when we got back and a crowd has formed. We went straight into the gate and entered the village. We parked the cart in the middle of a clearing at the center of the village. Everyone's gazes gathered toward Zach. All right, why a lot? These people here are this village's benefactors. They killed black speckles and gave almost all the meat to us. It's a banquet, tonight folks. The villagers' cheers rang out of the square. Some were running to other parts of the village to share the news. Go ahead and have a seat, you two. Here, let me make some tea. Several sets of tables and chairs have been moved to the village square. I immediately took a seat along with Cleria and proceeded to relax. On the other side of the square, some villagers have begun butchering the big boar. They looked like they were really familiar with the job. Are you the head of this village, Zach? Oh? Yeah, that's right. Pardon me for asking, but just how'd you kill that pesky boar anyway? I killed it with magic. It charged straight for us, so I hit it with magic right on the head. You're a mage. He seems quite surprised. Are there people who can't use magic, perhaps? Are there people capable of using magic in this village? There are 2 or 3 who can, but none of them are capable enough to get rid of black speckles with a spell. So that's the case. I didn't think some people are unable to use magic. As I watched the dismantling work being performed, I noticed that the knives they were using were quite dull, so the work wasn't progressing all that fast. The sun's going to set soon. Dinner's gonna be late at this rate. I'll lend this to you guys, Zach. Try dismantling it with that. I handed my electromagnetic blade knife to Zach. It's a magic tool, so it's really sharp. It can even cut through bone. Be careful while using it. Magic tool, ye say? Ooh. Be careful so you won't injure yourself. Oh, and wash it properly before returning it, all right. Soon after, cheers could be heard coming from the people dismantling the boar. It seems the work's proceeding smoothly. After a while, the tea was served. This is my first time trying a local drink on this planet. Delicious. It kinda tastes like the green tea of Earth. It's delicious. Can you share some of the tea leaves with me, Zach? It seems Zach's wife was pleased when I praised her tea. Of course, mate. I also love the taste of this tea. Ye think there's a sell in the city? I think it definitely would. I'll buy some at least. I don't know anything about the city, but delicious things are delicious. How about Cleria? I sent an inquiring gaze at her. Yes. It's quite delicious. Looks like that confirms it. Milady Cleria says it'll sell. But why no, Alan? I've been meaning to ask about that outfit of yours. What exactly is that? So they really were conscious about it, huh? It's not like I had any other outfits to wear anyway. Well, due to some certain circumstances, these are the only clothes I have right now. Is that so? Well, the specialty product of this village is ***. We also make clothes as well. We can probably whip out a decent set for YA tomorrow. Really? Thank you, I appreciate it. I'll be paying, of course. I'll leave it to you. There was an unfamiliar word there, but they offered to make me clothes. I hope they won't be too expensive. All right, we'll fix you a set tomorrow. 2. Villagers were already starting to gather around the tables. A boy who looked to be about 12 approached me. Thanks for getting rid of black speckles. That thing killed my dad. I see. I'm sorry about your dad. So eat plenty of that guy's meat to get even, okay? Yeah. The boy then went over to the dismantling spot. How many people were killed? I asked Zach. He got 6 people. This year, there were 3. We were almost unable to come further outside the village lately. We're really grateful to you two for bringing it down. I see. I'm glad we could help. It seems they've butchered quite a few portions already. A group of village women were starting to cook the meat on a stove made of stones on one side of the village square. Cleria talked to Zach's wife for a time, but excused herself just now. Seems like she needs to go on a bathroom break. Zach saw it and moved closer to me afterward. Hey, that Night Sama is a ***, right? Seems like I wouldn't be able to understand the word without updating the language database. Anyway, knight huh? She's a knight since she's wearing armor. Do knights have a higher social status or something? Why do you think so? I need more info. Well, the way she speaks is like that of a ***, so isn't she one? Are you her ***, Alan? There's another word I can't understand. What's a ***? Why I don't know. It's someone who takes care of a knight's well-being and daily needs. I performed a language update. So the meaning of ***, is attendant huh? Well, it's true that I'm basically taking care of her daily needs. I'm even cooking for her. So like I'm her attendant huh? Well, I guess it's something like that. I've only met Ria recently, so I'm still not that familiar with her. So, how's the Night Sama's skills with a sword? He sure was asking about some unexpected stuff. Let's see. She should at least be able to take on 2 greyhounds at the same time. Well, it may be a little tough on her though. That's a Marzin. Our conversation was interrupted because Cleria came back. The village women carried over a large serving of a dish on a large plate. There's also some bread. I'm kinda looking forward to eating other people's cooking after so long. The dish seems to be cooked out of poto tubers and a lot of other vegetables I was unfamiliar with, coupled with lots of meat. It was a type of vegetable stir-fry. Zach picked up his plate and started getting a portion of the dish on the large plate. He took quite a lot. So it's that kind of system. Cleria and I also picked up some wooden plates and scooped out portions of the dish. Cleria took quite a lot for herself. It's delicious. It lacked a bit of salt, but they used a generous amount of that garlic-like herb. It smelled unique. They must be using some more herbs I was unfamiliar with. I feel that the saltiness of the dish was a little too thin, but it's plenty tasty as it is. This is delicious. Cleria was busy stuffing her cheeks full. It was a fun banquet. All of the villagers began to eat the food. It became quite lively. Hey, that's right. I managed to find some of those leafy salad use vegetables before we came here. I reached for my ingredient bag and took some out. It's fresh, so it was still quite crisp. Oh, and there's some leftover blackbird meat as well. Let's cook some then. What do you have there? Oh, are those sapper leaves? I found some earlier. You can have some if you like. It seems the salad vegetable is called the sapper. The sapper leaves were torn to small pieces and were put in on an empty wooden plate. Afterward, the plate was placed in a corner easily accessible to everyone participating in the banquet. I wrapped some sapper leaves around the meat and started eating it. Yep, that's delicious all right. When some of the villagers saw me, they started imitating what I was doing. It's delicious. We've never eaten meat like this. And here's some meat from the bird I managed to hunt yesterday. Does anyone want some? The meat left was about 5 kilos worth. It would be better to finish it all tonight. Oi, oi. Ain't this blackbird meat? Why, sure we can eat it. So the blackbird really was called Blackbird. A simple but fitting name. Yeah. It'll go bad if we don't eat it tonight. More meat was served to the villagers. More cheers rose from the gathered crowd. The bread looked a bit hard. But when I tried it, I found that it wasn't as hard as I thought. It was about the size of my palm. It looked like it was freshly baked. I cut the bread into 2 halves with my knife. I lined the inside with some sapper leaves and placed a large amount of meat in between. Now I had a homemade meat sandwich. Do you want some, Cleria? She was staring hard while I was preparing the sandwich after all. I handed it over to her and proceeded to make another one. Yep, this is also tasty. The bread is softer than expected, and the meat was overflowing with juice. That looks good too. Zach also started making his own. Zach's wife followed suit. Oh boy. The village women brought out something like thick steak slices this time. I'll get myself a smaller piece. Millimeter, this was also made with plenty of garlic. Delicious. Cleria got herself a huge slice. Talk about oversized. I ate my fill. I couldn't stuff myself anymore. Both Cleria and Zach were eating like crazy, and it didn't seem they planned to stop anytime soon. That was truly delicious. This might be the first time in my life that I got to eat this much meat. Zach's wife brought out an earthen container and placed it on the table. Do you two drink alcohol? Yes, I'll have some please. Cleria also nodded in response. It resembled red wine. Millimeter, that hit the spot. The sourness was a bit pronounced, but it was still quite good. So, are you two going to Targatania by any chance? Zach inquired as he drank. Ah, yes. I might have answered his question a little too readily. Hey, Beck. Come here, son. Zach called out to the young man with him earlier. Can he tag along with you two as well? This lad here's my son Beck. Come to think of it, their faces practically resembled each other. All right. But why is he going to Gatania as well? Why see, we come to Gatania every 6 months in order to sell the products made in this village. It's about time for us to head over there again. We always go in groups of 15 as a countermeasure for bandits and monsters, but it wasn't very efficient and we failed to make profits. We couldn't pack a good number of wares as well. Now we have a knight with amazing sword skills and a mage able to kill a big boar with one spell here. And you both are also heading to Gatania. So I was thinking if maybe we could tag along as well and hire you two as our escorts. Cleria blushed red upon hearing her being described as a knight with amazing sword skills. Are you going to Gatania using a carriage? That's right. Can ye escort Beck here, along with another young man to the city? It doesn't seem to be a bad proposal. We need a guide after all, so this saves us the trouble of looking for one. What do you think, Rhea? I'm fine with it though. I don't mind as well. All right then. We'll accompany them. But only for going to the city. What do you plan to do when it's time to go back? There's no need to worry, because we're going to hire adventurers by then. Adventurers? Those are people who go on adventures for a living, right? Are escort services also a part of their duties? I see. But is this really okay? You're entrusting your safety to people you've just met today. I have confidence in my ability to judge people. Ye two are people we can trust. Cleria nodded in agreement. Well, we're definitely not villains, so Zach's eye for people is pretty spot on. Understood. We accept your request for an escort to Gatania. We promise to keep Beck and the carriage safe along the way. Thank you. But I can't give you much compensation for your troubles, though. You don't have to. We get to go to Gatania on a carriage after all. That's enough of a reward. Even if you say that. Oh, right. How about that set of clothes I mentioned earlier? The clothes we make in our village are fairly reputed, you know. Thank you for your consideration then. I did need to get a new set of clothes anyway. As expected, it would stand out too much if I entered the city wearing my jumpsuit. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's drink. Hey, that's right. Speaking of alcohol, I have the perfect snack to go with it. I retrieved the dried salmon fillets from the backpack. Since they were quite hard, I cut them into strips with my knife, put them on a plate and placed it on the table. Here's some dried fish. I can't guarantee the taste since I'm the one who made them, but these should be good snacks to pair with the wine. Now this is something unusual. Let's see. These are delicious. You've used plenty of salt on them, and they do seem like the perfect snacks to go along with the wine. I also gave some to the rest of the villagers. Looks like they liked the taste, judging from their excited reactions. The bonfires continued to burn, and the banquet lasted until late into the night. After last night's binge drinking, I asked Nanam to wake me up when morning came. And no, I don't have a hangover. Nanam broke down the alcohol in my bloodstream while I slept, which is quite convenient. Cleria and I were led to stay the night at the lodging for welcoming visitors. It seems there were often travelers like us who asked to stay at the village, so they built a building solely for housing visitors. We were really lucky to have obtained the goodwill of the villagers yesterday. We were able to get rid of the big boar that has been harassing the village after all. The worst that could have happened was that the ones after Cleria following us into the village. We would have had to fight them off here if it came to it, but thankfully, they didn't manage to track us down yet. Zach's behavior also indicated that they haven't been to this area yet, so that's good news at least. Cleria was still fast asleep, so I decided to leave her be. She must be really tired. I left the house and made my way back to the square. Some villagers are already awake and were busy with their work. Good morning, Alan. It was Zach's son, Beck. Morning, Beck. I got along quite well with Beck. He's 19 and was on the slender side, but he looked similar to his father, Zach. He feels like the guy next door type with blue eyes and brown hair. Beck seemed to have a fascination for swordsmanship, so he went up to Cleria straight away. But Cleria mentioned that my skills were better, so he went over to consult me instead. After prodding me for a while, I finally gave in and started discussing swordsmanship with him. Truth is, I didn't really know a thing about proper swordsmanship, but I ended up practicing forms every once in a while during our trip. Well, I suppose it'll be fine to teach him some moves. I'll just leave the basics to Cleria. You sure are early, Beck. I wanted to leave the village as soon as possible. I've already gathered my luggage, but the clothes we're supposed to sell in the city aren't prepared yet. So, when do you plan to leave? Well, I wanted to leave before noon at the latest. Oh right, Dad said to call you over. Okay. I'll go look for him then. Suddenly, Cleria came running towards us. Good morning, Ria. Alan. You should have just woken me up, you know. Eh? Looks like she's angry. I don't think I did anything particularly worth getting angry over though. Zack seems to be looking for me, so I'll head on over first. I'm coming too. Oh boy. She sure is grumpy today. Let's see. I think Zack's house was round here. It was the biggest house in the entire village. As expected of the village chief. When we neared the house, Zack came out. Good morning, Zack. You were looking for me. Yo. It's about what we discussed last night. The clothes I offered as a reward. Head on. Over here for a bit. I was dragged inside Zack's house. The room near the front door looked like a warehouse, and a lot of clothes were stocked on the shelves. These re the clothes we put up for sale. I've been selecting a few of them for you to choose from. Go and pick the ones you like. Thank you. That's quite a lot. Let's see. Which ones should I get? I'll choose for you, Cleria offered in a cheerful tone, as though her bad mood from earlier didn't happen. Right then. Take your time and choose. Zack went out of the room. All right, Ria. I'll leave it to you. I haven't worn these types of clothing before, so I don't know what's good and what's not. Please leave it to me. Cleria cheerfully took some clothes from the racks and began checking them out. I honestly can't tell the difference between these clothes. Wouldn't anything be fine if the size fits? There wasn't a lot of items which fit my size, so we got to decide on some clothes pretty quickly. What Cleria ended up picking was a pair of cream-colored shirt and black pants. I'll choose some for you again once we arrive in the city. Thanks, Ria. I'll be relying on you again then. Cleria seemed a bit miffed about the fact that there weren't many clothes to choose from, so when I agreed to let her choose for me again in the city, her mood turned better. Zack came back in at this time. I'll be getting these, Zack. I see. YA also needs some underwear, right? Unfortunately, we only have this kind available. There was only one type of free-size underwear available. Can I try these on? They are all yours now. Go right ahead. When I started unzipping my current getup, Cleria got flustered and hurriedly ran out of the room. I'm a bit unused to them, but they'll do just fine. They're a perfect fit as well. I went out of the room after I finished changing, and Cleria immediately came over. It seems she was checking me out. And it looks like I got passing marks. YA mentioned wanting some food preserves as well, right? I was thinking of packing enough for 4 people. That'll be fine then, thanks. I'm planning on going hunting for food along the way anyway. Do you need some help? Can ye help with packing the luggage and wares then? I went back inside the warehouse with Cleria and started wrapping the clothes with a big linen sheet. I had a bit of trouble folding the clothes to a small enough size so we could pack in more. We managed to finish packing all of the wares after 3 or 4 hours. All right, folks, time for breakfast. Zack announced. The main dish is of course made from big boar meat. However, the seasonings used in this time's dish are different from what was used in yesterday's banquet. Of course, the dish is still plenty delicious. We loaded all our luggage on a two-wheeled carriage. There were a lot more other wares than clothes. Looks like this village's specialty was producing cotton. Raw cotton was packed into small sacks and was included in the wares. Since the wagon didn't have a roof, I asked what we'd do if it ever rained, and the folks at the village answered, "We'll just think about it if it comes to that." Well, can't be helped then. The other young villager coming with us was named Thor. He was a young man about the same age as Beck. They were apparently childhood friends. He looks to be a fine young man as well. Apparently, he was to serve as a substitute for Beck for driving the carriage. We finally departed with a carriage filled to the brim with luggage and various wares. There were a lot of villagers who came to see us off. "Don't mess up, why here, Beck?" Zach yelled out. "I know, Dad. Alan, I'll leave Beck to you. Please rest assured. We'll safely deliver them to Gatania." We finally departed from the village, but since part of the way was a steep slope, everyone walked downhill and proceeded slowly. We finally boarded the carriage and sped up once we reached the highway. I was told yesterday that it would take about 20 days to get to Gatania by carriage. It's surprisingly quick, considering our form of transport. Beck and Thor were sitting out front, while I and Cleria sat on top of the piled-up luggage. This actually feels kinda neat. We were traveling at a speed just a little faster than walking on our own. I had nothing else to do, so I proceeded to activate scanning magic. The detection range is the same as before, a radius of 700 meters. "How far are we traveling today, Beck?" "We left pretty late in the day, so we'll probably end up sleeping outdoors. There's a pretty good camping spot a good ways away, so we'll go until there." "Gotcha. Don't hesitate to call out if you ever need anything." The carriage rattled noisily, so they wouldn't be able to hear me on the driver's seat if I didn't raise my voice. Beck and Thor were talking between themselves, but I couldn't hear them very well due to all the noise. We were both free, so Cleria and I proceeded to spend time talking to each other as well. We're basically doing the same thing before going to the village. Cleria asked me about the method to cast a single-shot flame arrow, but I couldn't give her any useful tips apart from sharpening her image of the spell. I told her that her image of the spell she wants to cast is the most important factor when using magic. It seems Cleria was satisfied with my answer and hunkered down to mull things over. I ended up quite free again. 2. Whoa, there's some unwanted company. Nana managed to capture magical reactions. Rhea, there's a greyhound. Just one. 500 meters out in that direction. The sucker was in the 11 o'clock direction. It's right out front. Please let me deal with it. Well, she's asked, so she shall receive. I'll leave it to her then. All right. But it's still not certain that it'll head our way. Judging from its movements, it seems the greyhound hasn't noticed us yet, but the carriage was moving in its direction, so it'll probably notice us before long. The greyhound's movements finally showed some changes when the carriage reached a distance of 200 meters from it. It was definitely heading straight for us. Well, the carriage was noisy as heck, so it was probably inevitable. "Beck, stop the carriage." The carriage promptly stopped moving and Cleria jumped out front. "What's wrong?" Beck asked. "Greyhound. Just one. Rhea will deal with it," I announced. Cleria drew her sword and held it in both hands before her chest. The greyhound appeared about 50 meters away from the carriage. It wasn't wary of us one bit and kept charging at us. I raised the rifle slightly, just in case. Flame arrow. A single, large flame arrow appeared before Cleria and headed straight towards the greyhound. The flame arrow struck the greyhound right in the chest when it managed to come within 10 meters of Cleria's position. Whoa! That was some fast casting. She just took about 15 seconds to cast that spell. And Cleria also had her eyes opened all this time. She's really managed to improve by a lot. Beck and Thor raised a fuss. Cleria would have normally jumped up and down in celebration, but she had a calm and composed expression today. It seems she was putting up quite a front due to the presence of Beck and Thor, but I didn't miss the faint arch which graced her lips. Well, she was regarded as a really skilled knight by the villagers, so I sort of understand how she's feeling. She didn't forget to take the magic stone from the corpse. She made her sword glow and split the greyhound in two, recovering the magic stone afterward. Beck and Thor made a fuss about it once again. We tossed the greyhound remains down a cliff. That takes care of that. Shall we depart? Amazing, Alan-san. Is Rhea-sama always like this? Let's give a bit more props to Cleria today. Yes. She's always been like this. Shall we go then? Yeah. The carriage started up once again. The two out front were still immersed in the excitement and were talking animatedly with each other. How was I, Alan? Looks like Cleria couldn't hold down her own excitement and finally inquired about her prior performance. That was great. The time you took to solidify your image was quite short. And what was even more impressive was that your eyes remained open while casting. Huh? My eyes were open. Looks like she wasn't aware of it then. Yeah, they were. Your next goal would be to shorten the casting time further. 10 seconds at the longest. Next would be not using your hands to aim and chantless casting. If you can do all these, you'll have enough breathing room to prepare your spells before a battle begins, and you'd be able to defeat your opponents easier. Your combat capabilities would rise considerably. Cleria seemed like she agreed with my points. I was curious about why she didn't cast spells like this before. How did you learn magic, Rhea? You'd first need to read and memorize magic tomes before you can learn magic properly. You'd have to do as the steps in the magic tome indicate one by one in order to cast magic spells successfully. Magic tome, huh? Sounds kinda amazing. Yes. For example, Fireball has 17 steps. Flame Arrow has 50. So does that mean you're reproducing the 17 processes in your head in those 10 seconds before casting a fireball spell? That's correct. That's quite amazing. That's beyond what geniuses can normally do. No wonder she had to close her eyes before. I'm not familiar with the exact processes, but she's basically completing an average of 2 every second. I haven't even heard of the method of using images like what Alan does. Well, I guess if you didn't know of the process of gathering magicless in order to form spells, you would have a relatively more difficult time casting magic. I remember that I learned of the exact method from an NPC teacher for several days back in the game. I see. So I guess those steps would allow one to construct an effective mental image. Is using a magic tome to learn magic the norm? Of course. I can guarantee that every mage in this world learned to cast spells through reading magic tomes. Except for Alan, that is. She seems really sure of her words, huh? I see. So it's possible that the people who produced these magic tomes must have written them in such a way that would allow one to form a mental image through the use of a step-by-step process. And as a result, it became common sense to learn magic by imitating the steps written in those magic tomes. It's definitely possible. But Zach said yesterday night that there were a few of the villagers who could actually use magic. Did those people read tomes too? Actually, Zach said that the village had about 2 or 3 people who could use magic in the village last night. Oh, those are probably people who can use an incomplete form of spell casting due to not having the chance to read a tome. Magic tomes are expensive, so normal citizens able to use magic are quite few in number. I see. It's plenty possible to cast magic if you have a good imagination. But without a tome to provide definite steps for processing an image, casting may prove difficult for beginners. Well, now you've experienced it too, Cleria. What's truly important when casting magic is forming a concrete and vivid image. You need to be faster, more detailed and precise when imagining just how you want a spell to come out and how much magic power you wish to use up during spell casting. Imaging power, so to speak. Imaging power. Cleria was once again lost in thought. I was free once again, so I just plopped down on the luggage pile. That's some nice weather. It'll be great if it doesn't rain. Oops, that was close. I was just about to fall asleep. I looked at the digital clock on my virtual HUD and found that we've traveled for close to an hour. Nanam was still keeping watch, so I bet it'll wake me up if there was some kind of trouble along the way, but I'll fail as an escort if that happened. Let's be more careful from now on. Cleria was silently sitting while keeping her eyes closed. It seems she's meditating. She isn't just asleep, right? At that moment, the scan managed to pick up another reaction. It was a weak reaction that was barely in the scan's detection ability, and was right in front of the carriage again. It's 400 meters out. It doesn't look to be anything dangerous. When we got within 100 meters of it, I finally managed to see what it was. It kinda looked like a rabbit. It had a short, fluffy-looking tail. It was hiding in the bushes near the roadside, but its tail was sticking out like a sore thumb. These creatures had an uncanny ability to sense and avoid danger. There were a lot of instances where I got to detect them using scanning magic, only for them to escape before I could get any nearer. If we manage to catch this guy, guess we'll have rabbit meat for dinner. Rhea, there's a rabbit out front. Cleria's eyes sprang open. Was she really asleep? Where is it? I'll bring it down. Thought she'd say that. It's hiding inside those bushes. I cannot see it. Seems you can't see it from here. How about this? I'll throw a rock at it and you bring it down once it gets out of the bushes. I brought out some stones I had reserved inside my backpack. I'll try. I brought up my throwing arm and prepared myself. The rabbit still isn't fleeing. I bet it's just waiting for us to go past it. I'll make my move once we close in as much as possible. 30 meters more. 20 meters. 10 meters. Now. I threw a stone right next to the bush where the rabbit was hiding. It panicked and jumped out of the bush, right into the road. Flame arrow. Looks like she missed the timing a bit. The spell would just manage to graze the critter at this rate. Well, that's what I thought at first, but the flaming arrow changed projectiles mid-flight and pierced the rabbit's neck. 2. That was amazing. The flame arrow released by Cleria wasn't a normal one, but something with a homing feature added in. I can't believe Cleria managed to do that. Nah, that's a bit rude of me. I'm sure she managed to achieve it through her meditation earlier to solidify her image. That's pretty impressive. I didn't even think of doing that. Seems I was unknowingly bound by common sense as well before I noticed. I'll have to learn from this experience. Beck was surprised when Cleria suddenly cast a spell and stopped the carriage. Cleria and I went down the carriage and retrieved the rabbit. It was a nice, round and plump rabbit. Rabbit meat was quite gamey, so I'll have to drain its blood right away. Beck and Thor again made a huge fuss. Cleria was again keeping her cool and collected. Her lips were twitching in a half-smile though. Anyway, we got ourselves some dinner. The carriage drove on until it was close to evening, and Beck finally stopped when we arrived at a place that looked like the camping spot he mentioned earlier. It was a clearing right next to the highway. There was a small stream of water trickling down from a rock wall nearby, forming a pool below. This seemed to be a good place to camp for people who can't use magic to create their own water. Let's rest here for the night. There's no other place to set up camp out here, Beck suggested. All right. I'll go and prepare then. Keep a lookout, Rhea. Understood. Collecting firewood for the bonfire was easy because we were in the middle of the mountains. I'm gonna go collect some more. I managed to finish the task without much issue. What kind of food did you pack, Beck? Let's check the food items out for the time being. All the food's in this bag. I was handed a rather large bag. It was packed quite full. The items were dried meat, lots of bread, potos, the salad leaves called sapa, other assorted vegetables, salt and dried herbs. There was no problem with the amount. But I wanted to avoid using preserved food as much as possible. Are you going to cook, Alan-san? Thor asked as he drew near. Beck was busy unloading some of the luggage. Yeah. I like cooking a lot. If you guys are okay with it, allow me to prepare tonight's dinner. Then I'll help out as well. Shall I start preparing the rabbit? The folks back home said I had quite the knack for it. That sounds great. I'll leave that to you then. Tonight's menu was rabbit meat stir-fried with potos and other assorted veggies, as well as rabbit meat sandwiches. I'd like to eat the bread before it hardens up after all. I'll use up all the rabbit meat. If there would be some leftovers, I'll just save them for breakfast tomorrow. Let's start by washing the vegetables. Thor had already started butchering the rabbit. Looks like he wasn't kidding when he said he was good at it. How do you want me to cut the meat? Slice them as small enough to be eaten in one bite. I'm planning to let you guys finish it all tonight. Rabbit meat's almost entirely of the red variety. Therefore, there's no meaning to separate it into various parts. Amazing. It's gonna be a feast tonight as well. I never imagined I'd get to eat a lot of meat again so soon. I also helped with cutting up the meat, because the rabbit was fairly large. I wonder if this is enough to satisfy Cleria's appetite. I put the meat in a large pot and seasoned it. The seasonings I used were plenty of garlic, herbs, salt, and pepper. Since rabbit meat had a strong smell, I had to use plenty of flavorings to counteract it. Where do you want me to put the fur, Alan-san? Isn't it fine if you just throw the fur? But that's such a waste. This is such a fine rabbit's fur. You can definitely sell it for some money. Well, it might not sell for very much though. Nah, no thank you. I don't know how to prepare fur after all. Then I'll just give it to you, Thor. Great. Thank you very much. I wanted us to have dinner early, but Beck requested a sword practice session. Thor also joined in as well. Can I ask you to teach them the basics, Rhea? I'll leave them to you. The two young men seemed to be in agreement. Looks like they were really impressed by Cleria's performance today. Cleria didn't seem against teaching them as well. She nodded in agreement and made a stance. The two young men had prepared their own wooden swords. Cleria first taught them about the proper way of gripping one's sword. The sword practice session continued for about an hour. Looks like their sword handling skills did improve a bit compared to before. Since it was getting dark now, I guess it's time to have dinner. The meat should have already absorbed plenty of flavor from the seasonings. The two young men raised a cheer after Cleria lit up the makeshift outdoor hearth that was already pre-made and placed in the middle of the clearing with fire magic. I first fried the potos in a large frying pan brought by Beck. After frying it for some time, I put in the meat next. When the meat started to brown, I proceeded to add the other vegetables. I want to preserve the crisp texture of the veggies after all. With this, the dish is complete. I served a large helping of the dish on a large wooden plate brought out by Beck. It turned out a lot more than I expected. All right, folks, dig in. Everyone placed some of the food on each of their plates. I proceeded to heat up the bread, which has been cut up into two halves on the frying pan. The three of them stared curiously at what I was doing. After the bread got slightly burnt at the edges, I removed them from the pan immediately. They've managed to soak up plenty of oil and were looking great. I placed some sapper leaves on the warmed bread and poured plenty of meat in between. With this, the rabbit meat sandwich is complete. I placed a sandwich on each of our plates. Oops! I nearly forgot to boil some water for the tea as well. All right. Let's get to eating. I'll start with the stir-fried meat. Yep, it's tasty. Rabbit meat is also a type of red meat like the big boars, so it was plenty delicious. A large amount of garlic, herbs, and pepper managed to eliminate the gamey smell of the meat. Looks like marinating the meat with them managed to do the trick. Next is the sandwiches, a combination of lightly toasted fluffy bread, which soaked up plenty of flavorful oil from the frying pan, crispy sapper leaves and tasty stir-fried meat. It was, of course, delicious. Everyone else ate like crazy. Looks like they really liked the dishes. Looks like even Cleria didn't manage to finish the food this time around. A good amount of stir-fried meat remained. Let's have it for breakfast tomorrow. I made some after-meal green tea from the leave sack packed with him. Man, that was delicious, Alan. Did you use a lot of salt and pepper? It's my first time eating such a fancy dish. Thor inquired. Yeah. It seems salt and pepper were valuable commodities. Speaking of which, they didn't use much pepper in the village's food, so the taste was a bit on the lighter side. Yeah. I'm glad you guys liked it. Course we did. That was great. Why don't you open a shop when you get to the city? Cooking's just my hobby. I don't want it to be my main occupation. Okay. But can you continue cooking for us during the trip? That's fine, I don't mind. Yeah. Beck and Thor loudly cheered. It's already well into the night. Shall we go to bed now so we can wake up early tomorrow? Go ahead and rest up, you two. We'll keep watch. But it's fine. We're your escorts anyway. We're just doing our job. Understood. Thanks. I told Cleria I'd be able to detect if something is amiss and wake up using my magic, so she proceeded to sleep without worries as well. With this, the first day of our journey ended without much trouble. All right, I'm gonna do my best today as well. 20 days have passed since we left from Tala's village. We haven't encountered much trouble during the trip so far. We were, however, assaulted quite a number of times by monsters. We were attacked by greyhounds twice. We also got assaulted by those green-skinned, midget humanoid creatures. It seems like they were called goblins. 6 of them appeared before us and attacked us, while crying out *Gukya, Gukya as usual. They seemed to be much less of a threat than greyhounds. I used them as target practice for my homing flame arrow spell, and finished them off all at once. We also passed by 2 other villages along the way. Because Beck was acquainted with them, we were warmly welcomed. They seemed to be of the same scale as Tala's village. We passed by many byroads and encountered many other travelers along the way. They were mostly merchants and adventurers. According to Cleria and Beck, an adventurer is a profession that undertakes jobs like pest extermination, gathering raw materials and serving as mercenary troops. I don't really think those things have much to do with having an adventure, but they are called adventurers for some reason anyway. Adventurers have a ranking system, and high-ranking individuals were apparently highly respected people. It might be a good idea to become an adventurer if I ever had problems putting food on the table in the future. Beck and the others have also woken up. Good morning, Master Alan-san. Beck and Thor have come to address Cleria as Master. Looks like Cleria doesn't dislike how the 2 of them are addressing her either. Good morning. Beck and Thor's sword skills have been steadily improving day by day. However, even if they've been getting in at least 2 hours of sword practice every day, they still aren't able to take on 2 goblins at the same time. Obviously, fighting a greyhound would be a tall order for the 2. I and Cleria have been teaching them how to properly fight a big boar if they managed to encounter one recently. However, since the 2 of them didn't have their own swords, I hope we'll be able to purchase some once we arrive in the city. It seems we've managed to get along quite well with Beck and Thor these past few days of traveling together. But just how much does a sword cost, I wonder? Let me try asking Cleria later. We went on the road once more after having breakfast. According to Beck, we should be able to reach Catania this evening, so I'm really looking forward to it. 5 hours after our departure, just a bit more before lunch, I managed to detect a reaction from my scans. This signature was definitely that of a human. A fellow traveler, perhaps. The signature was stationary. When we got until 200 meters from the target, and would finally get it in visual range, that person suddenly made a move and headed away from our carriage. I wonder what's up. I changed the detection target from small animals to humans and tried to scan once more. The detection range would expand if I set the target to larger objects. Finally, I managed to get 12 human signatures 1,500 meters out. The person from before was apparently heading towards that group of 12. Mew, how suspicious. Looks like the person from earlier was coming back to the group in order to report about us. Looks like these guys were bandits that Zach warned me about. Ria, I detected at least 13 people 1,500 meters away from us. They are probably bandits. You can actually detect them from that far out. Oh yeah. I haven't told her much about my scanning magic, have I? Yeah, I can tell. What are we going to do about them? Well, we certainly can't turn back the way we came. Alan and I should be able to take on those 13 people. Well, she's right. Handling them wouldn't be a problem if we used magic, and we'd definitely win once I used my rifle. Well, it's not like I've fully confirmed them to be bandits. But is it okay for us to kill bandits just like that? It does feel kind of bad for some reason. Why not? They're all villains anyway. Seems like it was a mistake to ask Cleria after all. Beck. Stop the carriage. We told Beck about the suspected bandits ahead. Beck and Thor fell into quite a panic afterward. Hey, is it okay for us to kill the bandits? It won't cause us any trouble later. No, Alan-san. There are 13 of them, right? I don't know how exactly you managed to get their number, but you can't possibly take on 13 bandits all at once. Nah, we'll probably be okay. More like, if those guys don't have mags at least on par, or greater than Ria and I, we'll certainly win. Huh. Well, I've also seen mage adventurers before, but I haven't met anyone stronger than Alan-san or Master. But there's 13 of them. Can you really win? Yup, we can. So there's no problem if we kill all those bandits, right? That's true. And as long as there are witnesses, we won't be charged with any crime after killing bandits. But I also heard that we'll get rewards if we manage to turn the bandits in alive. I see. So it'll earn us some money, huh? We truly need more money. Looks like we can't kill them after all. I wonder how much we'll get per person. Beck started to panic again when I started to consider capturing the bandits. Hey, are you guys really going to fight them? It'll be fine. Trust in your master. We'll get the people back at the village some souvenirs with the reward money. Let's do this, Beck. Master and Alan-san will surely be fine. Looks like we managed to persuade Thor by mentioning souvenirs, huh? I understand. Let's do this. It'll be all right. I promised Zach after all. I'll protect you guys at all costs. We've decided to go ahead with the bandit capturing plan. We headed out on the carriage once more. First, we'll have to make sure those guys really were bandits. If we attack them by mistake, we'll be branded as bandits instead. 200 meters to go. I announced our distance from the targets. I and Cleria were sitting on top of the luggage at the back of the carriage. What we needed to watch out for were projectile weapons like arrows and throwing knives, as well as magic. I can shoot down arrows and throwing knives with my rifle. Magic, however, could prove to be a bit more troublesome. I zoomed in on the targets. They were trying to conceal themselves, but I managed to spot 2 people up on the trees. The others were still in hiding and were not in visual range. 100 meters left. There's 2 people up in the tree. 50 meters, don't launch an attack before I do so first. 10 meters, Cleria raised her arm out front and got ready. Suddenly, a group of men moved out to block the road. There's 7 out front. 4 at the back. The 2 on top of the tree were getting ready to attack as well. Who are you, people? I stood up from the luggage and addressed them. I knew what they actually were, but it's just standard procedure. Whoa. Just get a load of that babe over there. She looks high quality. I got somewhat annoyed when these guys didn't properly respond to my question and talked among themselves instead. You're right. That lass'll fetch a pretty penny, I reckon. It seems no use talking to these guys. I'm tempted to just turn them into money already. Keep calm, me. I just asked you lot who you are. I've just about lost it. Can't ya tell just by looking, fool? We're bandits, nameless grunt A answered carkily. In that instant, 13 fire arrows appeared around me and flew towards the bandits all at once. I also aimed my rifle at the guys hanging out on the tree, who were preparing to fire arrows at us. One of them panicked and hastily fired an arrow at us. An instant after the sound of the gunshot from my rifle rang out, the arrow the guy released was disintegrated. I aimed my rifle at the other guy, but he was already falling. From the tree branch, after taking a hit from a flame arrow, the guy who fired the arrow earlier followed suit. I turned my rifle towards the other bandits, but they were already writhing in agony from being hit by my flame arrows on their right shoulders. With this, it's over. Rhea, disarm them. I jumped down from the carriage and instructed Cleria with a yell. Cleria was momentarily stunned, but jumped down the carriage as well after a few moments when she heard my voice. 2. Disarming the bandits proved to be no challenge. We collected their swords, spears, and bows and gathered them in one spot. I kicked the annoying bandits to another spot. Even a grown man would fly off for about 5 meters if I kicked them seriously. I felt some of my annoyance fade away after kicking them. Looks like it went pretty well. I called out to the rest of the group. You're amazing, Alan-san. That was way too cool. Beck and Thor, who just stared at the commotion blankly on the carriage earlier, made a racket again. Oh, right. Beck, Thor. You can pick any sword you like from that pile over there. I pointed at the weapons we confiscated from the bandits. Yeah. We got us some swords. Hurry up, Thor. The 2 of them jumped off the carriage excitedly. It's fine even if you don't hurry, guys. Those swords aren't going anywhere. Alan, that weapon. To think it can accurately intercept a flying arrow. It's a really amazing weapon. Well, yeah. It's my trump card after all. Your magic was also amazing. Teach me next time, K. Will Clearia even be able to master it? Oops. Don't get caught up by common sense. If there's a will, there's a way. All right. I'll teach it to you next time. There are no more detection responses in the area. Beck and Thor were swinging the swords around and looked busy choosing ones that they like. I approached the captured bandits. Some of them were already recovering from the pain caused by my spell, and were sitting on the ground in stunned silence. Since they were hit by arrows of flame, they didn't actually bleed all that much. Yo! How's it going, guys? How do you feel? Damn you! You won't get away with this bastard. A bearded guy who seemed to be the leader of the group threatened me. And just what do you mean by that? I asked out of pure curiosity. It looks like the guy had something more to say. Anyway, if you let us free now, we won't mind letting you guys off. You can have our weapons as well. What, so he's just an idiot, huh? How about you guys give me some money then? I can think about releasing you guys depending on the amount. Of course, I'll just free the guys who forked out money. I wasn't serious though. The grunts riffled through their pockets in search of cash. I left all my money back in the hideout, so I ain't got any right now. One of the grunts suddenly confessed. So these guys have a base, huh? Interesting. The other grunts brought out all the money they had on their pockets and handed them over. It was all just bronze and silver coins. Oi, oi. The reward money for turning you guys in is a lot more convincing than this paltry sum. I definitely can't let you off with just this much. You get me? I didn't really know how much reward money we'll get in exchange for these guys, and just tried to bluff. But it seems they were actually convinced in the end. Well, I'm quite the understanding guy anyway. I'll take a look at your hideout and decide if it's worth letting you guys off then. Depending on how much is in there, I might even consider letting go of all of you. I was just playing with them though. Hey! You guys! OOF! The leader was about to object, so I kicked him to shut him up. It seems he fainted. He's not dead, is he? Well, it's not like I care anyway. Well then, where's that base you told me about? When I pointed out to the grunts, all of them made quite a ruckus and jostled with each other to answer my question. I held up my hand to shut them up. You there? You represent them and tell me. I pointed at the weakest looking grunt of the group. The base is that way. About 5 kilometers from here. It's an abandoned goblin burrow. It's that kind of place, huh? It's a place where I normally wouldn't want to go. How many of you are left in the hideout? There are 2 others in the hideout. We also have a merchant captive in there. You're sure? I turned towards the other grunts. All of them nodded obediently. I see. I'll also add that merchant as part of the assessment, so don't you guys worry. I'll bait them with hope-filled words first. They'll be more cooperative that way. All right. That merchant seems to be the owner of a large shop in the city. We were originally planning to hold him for ransom. One grunt revealed something interesting. It's another piece of good info. I see. That's something to look forward to then. I wonder what these guys see me as. Maybe they're thinking of me as someone from the same trade. Ria, I'll go pay a visit to these guys' base for a bit. Cleria looked at me with a concerned expression. Oi, oi. Don't tell me even you got fooled by my acting. It's all right. I'll be back right away. Beck, Thor. Take up your swords and keep an eye on these guys. If they so much as move a muscle, slash them right away. It'll serve great as slashing practice. You don't get opportunities like this often. Yeah. Well, these two sure look eager. They might really slash at them, you know. Ria, if they make any suspicious moves, feel free to roast them with magic. Don't show mercy. I'll leave them to you. Understood. I bet these bandits will stay put obediently after hearing all that. Let's get going then. I entered deep into the mountains in a run. I soon found the goblin burrow the bandits mentioned earlier. I got 3 human signatures after activating scanning magic. Looks like this really is the place. I approached cautiously. I found 2 men standing guard at the entrance of the cave, talking animatedly with each other. This looks like a great opportunity. Man, all that planning about how to rescue the captive just got wasted. It's kinda silly. I just approached them openly. Looks like they still haven't noticed me. Yo! You guys bandits! I called out to them as I approached. It seems I finally got all their attention after I called out to them. Who are you? Oh, come on. I asked first. Are you guys bandits? Stop right there. Man, this sure is troublesome. Screw it then. I simply released flame arrows and hit the bandits' right shoulders with them. They fell over from the intense pain. I kicked the back of their heads like what I did to their leader earlier and made them pass out. That takes care of that. When I entered the burrow, I noticed that it wasn't as filthy as I first thought. It didn't smell particularly bad either. I proceeded towards the location of the response I got earlier. There were some holes in the wall in some places, which allowed sunlight to pour into. The cave. Looks like they made it with proper lighting in mind. There were a lot of rooms, but most of them were empty. Some of them only had junk inside. I finally found the merchant in question. He was placed in the room furthest back with his arms and legs bound. It was a middle-aged man. He looks about 50 years in age. He also seems to be the well-educated sort. Let's try talking with him. This may sound unbelievable, but I'm no bandit. I heard about you from the bandits and have come to rescue you. Oh, I'm finally saved. I managed to remember the faces of each of those bandits, so I can tell you're not one of them. Are you perhaps an adventurer? No, I'm not an adventurer. But I was tasked to guard a merchant carriage. We were attacked by those bandits along the way. After we repelled and captured them, I came to learn of you being kept in their hideout, so I came to save you. I cut the ropes binding the man with my knife. I am truly grateful for your timely help then. I will return this favor without fail. the merchant declared as he rubbed the places where the ropes stuck to his skin. No, it's true that I came here partly in order to rescue you, but my main goal was to secure the loot gathered by those bandits. That's really what I came here for in the first place. Ahaha, you're one honest lad. I suppose you'd be interested in that after all. Even I would do so if I was in your shoes, young man. Oh, do forgive me for the late introduction. I am Toulouse, a merchant and owner of a general store in the city. My name's Alan. Nice to meet you. Too. I looked around the room. A lot of stuff was piled up here and there, about 2 carriages worth of items at least. At a glance, I could immediately recognize various types of clothing, swords and spears. I was expecting more treasure-like items earlier, so I felt a bit disappointed. Do the goods here all belong to you? Most of them are. These items are my wares. Ah, and I think the money's inside that box over there. Teru-san pointed his finger toward a small box in a corner. Is this box yours as well? No, it's not. But I think they put all the money I had on me inside it as well. I see. So this thing's a safe of sorts. It certainly seems like a tough-looking box reinforced with metal. All of the bandits' loot should belong to the ones who defeated them. It's a proper reward guaranteed by the law. What? I didn't know that. So all of this stuff here now belongs to me then? Can I open it? It's yours anyway. However, I don't know where the bandits put away the key. I took out the electromagnetic blade knife and cut away all of the parts that looked like they would get in the way. Amazing. Is that knife a magic tool? Yeah, I guess. After opening up the box, a lot of different types of coins spilled out of it. But most of it was bronze and silver coins. There were only a few gold coins mixed in. There was also a knife inlaid with lots of precious-looking gems. Finally, something which looked like a genuine treasure appeared. Yosh, I don't know how much it is exactly when converted to gold, but I think we won't have much problems with our finances for a while with this much money. Is this knife one of your goods? No, it isn't. It looks like quite the luxurious item. That's great. Though I do feel a bit bad for this thing's former owner even if it's now mine. I'll give everything here back to you apart from the contents of this box then. Will that be fine? It would get you quite a sum if you sold them. I don't mind. The contents of this box are enough for me. It's not like I know their market value anyway. Well then, allow me to do as I said earlier and give you an appropriate compensation. No, you really don't have to. By the way, how about the belongings of your comrades? One of my employees and the 5 adventurers escorting us were all killed. They were all people I've associated with for quite a long time. I'll make sure those bandits are all brought to justice. What about your carriage, Teru-san? It seems they only took the goods and discarded it. They sold the horses for gold. Immediately after capturing me. Well, that's troublesome. Our carriage is already completely full. We won't be able to load this much goods on it at all. Then we will just have to fetch these at a later time. I don't think anything will happen to them, considering they are located deep within these mountains. I see, understood. Time to go back. I don't have any business here anymore. I brought out my collection bag. I put all the money I managed to get inside it. It turned out fairly heavy. I also put the jeweled knife inside. I also found some sturdy-looking rope inside the hideout. I'll use these to tie those bandits up. I'm thinking of tying up the bandits with these ropes. Is it all right if I take them? But of course. Go ahead and use them. How many of those bandits have you managed to capture alive? 15 of them. Probably. That's if those guys I kicked in the head earlier didn't actually die. Eh? You managed to catch all 15 of them alive. Well, there might be 1 or 2 people who kicked the bucket. By the way, I heard that there would be some rewards given out. Would you happen to know much I would get for them? As I recall, you'll get 2,000 guineas for each corpse. And if you manage to capture them in a healthy enough state to serve as *****, you'll get 5,000 guineas. There's an unfamiliar word. It seems I won't be able to translate it even if I update the language database. Looks like they'll use healthy-looking bandits for some purpose. Well, it's all good as long as I manage to turn them over alive, I guess. A corpse is worth 2 large gold coins, and a living bandit's worth 5, huh? I can't judge if that's a fair amount, because I still have no idea about the market price. All right then. I'm going to go back to our carriage. Please follow me. My friends are all waiting for me. Do you have anything else you want to bring with you? Well then. Teru-san took some swords and other items and put them inside a bag. The 2 bandits I left at the entrance were still out cold. It took some effort to kick them back awake. I let the 2 bandits walk out front while pointing at their backs with my sword. I heard how their merchant convoy was attacked from Teru-san. 3 days ago, their group was taking a rest when he was suddenly shot with an arrow and was quickly suppressed. It seems the reason for his travels this time was to develop new sales channels. They were in the middle of coming back to Gatania from the trip when they were attacked by bandits. We finally arrived back at the carriage. Alan. Cleria rushed to welcome me. Did you encounter any sort of trouble? She looked fine, so I don't think they encountered any trouble anyway. We're all right. This person is. He's Teru-san, a merchant. He was captured by those bandits, and I ended up rescuing him. Teru-san was surprised from seeing Cleria. I'm Teru's, the owner of a general store in the city. I am pleased to make you acquaintance, my lady. He then respectfully bowed towards Cleria. His attitude is quite different from when he met me. I went over to the bandits. Looks like they were all awake now. None of them were injured, so I guess Beck and Thor didn't get to have slashing practice after all. Well then, gentlemen. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that much after visiting your hideout, so I'm afraid I won't be able to release you all. As such, I'll have to take you all back to Gatania and hand you over to the authorities. All the bandits turned towards me. That's a lie. We got a lot of money and loot from that merchant. You're playing dirty. Nameless Grunt A complained. You're bandits, so you don't have the right to call me dirty, you idiots. All of you shut up. You already know how good I am with magic. Just try and resist even a little. I'll stick some arrows on you and send you straight to the heavens. I can still get reward money even if I handed over your corpses instead after all. I'm fine either way. Beck, Thor. Use these ropes to tie these guys up in a straight line, one guy following behind the other. I don't mind even if it's tight to the point which impedes their blood flow a little, so make sure those knots are secured. Understood. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to frisk them for money, why here? Can you keep an eye on the both of them, Rhea? Sure. Sorry about this, Teru-san. Can you wait a bit for us? But of course. It does feel quite nice seeing these ruffians getting roughed up like this. By the way, they all seem to be injured on their shoulders. You're right. I did that with my magic. You gave all of them identical injuries. Yeah. Even if I don't look like it, I'm actually very proficient in magic. Looks like Teru-san still isn't all that convinced with my explanation. Incidentally, what is your relationship with that female knight? Her. I'm sort of like her retainer. Teru-san looked at me strangely. It did look like I was the one ordering Cleria around earlier. Oh well. That knight is a asterisk, isn't she? There's another unfamiliar word. It's the same word Zack used back in the village. Just what does it mean? Well, we have our own circumstances. That's mostly the truth anyway. Teru-san didn't press me further after hearing that. We were able to secure all the bandits after about 30 minutes. In order to tow them with the carriage, we tied them up in groups of 7 and 8 and connected the rope binding them to the back of the carriage. Alan-san, what are we going to do with the money we got from them? Beck and Thor came up to me with hands filled with money. Please put them all in here. You can look at what's inside as well. I opened my bag and showed its contents to the both of them. Amazing. That's a lot of money. They made a commotion after seeing what's inside the bag. Let's divide it up later. What? But you're the one who recovered them, Alan-san. It's fine. You guys also risked your life. You have every right to get a share. But let's put that matter off for later. You already loaded the bandits' weapons on the carriage, right? Yosh, let's get going then. The carriage started off for Gatania once again. The number of people traveling on the road increased as we neared Gatania. We encountered 1 or 2 groups every hour or so, and we were getting lots of attention because of the long line of captives bound to our carriage. Some of them even purposely called out to ask if the captives we were towing were bandits, to which I answered in the affirmative. Beck and Thor were out front on the driver's seat, while I, Cleria, and Teru-san sat on top of the luggage. Cleria sat at the very back, so she could keep her eyes on the captured bandits. I was relatively free, so I asked Teru-san a lot of things I was curious about. Gatania was apparently a big city, with a population of about 20,000, and achieved prosperity through being a center of trade and commerce in the Belter Kingdom. Do we need some sort of permit for entering the city? Is Alan-san not affiliated with any guild? I've heard about guilds from Beck and the rest. They were organizations that officially registered people of different trades, such as adventurers and merchants. There were different kinds, such as the Adventurers Guild and the Merchant Guild. Beck and Thor were apparently registered members of the Merchant Guild. No, I haven't registered in one yet. If you were a guild member, your guild certificate would serve as your pass. If you aren't registered to any, you need to pay a fee and be issued a temporary pass instead. How much do I need to pay? Well, it's just 1 silver per person. And if you were to enter a guild within a 5-day period, the money will be refunded to you in full. I see. It was actually quite a fair policy. Do you need money to enter a guild? Are you aiming to register at the Adventurers Guild, Alan-san? If my memory serves me right, it would cost you 5 silver coins. It looks like entering the city would pose no problem after all. How much does it cost to stay overnight at an inn? The price varies depending on the establishment. It would cost 4 large bronze coins to stay at relatively cheaper ones, 1 silver coin. For regular inns and up to 5 silver coins if you choose to stay at a luxury hotel. Are there inns with baths available? You can only find baths at high-class inns. Regular ones wouldn't have them, I'm afraid. Well, I think I've managed to grasp a general idea of the market price. So it costs 5 silvers for an inn with baths, huh? You can stay for 20 days with 1 gold coin. Looks like booking an inn wouldn't cause Clearia and I any trouble for the time being as well. Would it be fine for you to head over to my mansion tonight? You can bring everyone else with you, of course. But please. I owe everyone my life. You've also meted out justice on behalf of my slain employee and adventurer cohorts. I would very much like to express my gratitude today, if you'd allow me the honor. It would be rude of me to refuse after the other party had said this much. I understand. We'll be in your care then. Thank you very much. My mansion has a nice, large bath. I will also tell my chefs to prepare a nice dinner for all of you. All right. I'm now really looking forward to this. Beck. We'll go stay at Teru-san's mansion tonight. It seems he'll treat us. Yeah. Beck and Thor exclaimed in glee. We finally managed to see the city of Gatania at around 4 in the afternoon. The entire city was surrounded by 10-meter-high walls. I zoomed in. The wall looks like it was made by stacking lots of reddish-brown bricks. There was one huge main gate that looked like it could fit 2 carriages side by side during entry. It was certainly a large city. We finally arrived in front of the gate after about 20 minutes. It didn't take long for our turn to enter the city. 2 men wearing leather armor and wielding spears approached us. It looks like they were part of the city guards. The 3 of us, who were sitting on top of the luggage, went down and met up with them. Oi, oi. That's quite a number you got there. These guys bandits. You managed to catch these suckers by yourselves. He sure was quite blunt for a soldier. Good afternoon, Captain Roman. Well now. If it isn't Teru-san. I'm sorry. I didn't manage to notice you earlier. Why are you riding in this carriage? My convoy was attacked by those bandits over there. Tim and the adventurers escorting us were all killed. I was probably kept alive, so they could exchange me for a hefty ransom. My word. That certainly is unfortunate. Please, go ahead and rest up a bit at the guard station. Oh right. This young man has been waiting at the gates for Teru-san for the last 3 days. When we looked toward the gate, we saw a boy who looked to be about 13 years old running up to us. Master. Master. You're all right. Ah, thank goodness. Looks like Teru-san was really well liked. Ah, Willie. I'm sorry to have made you worry. I trust the store hasn't encountered any problems while I was gone. I don't think it did, but everyone was sick with worry. I see. It's fine now. It's good that you're here. Please tell everyone to prepare a grand welcome for these 4 individuals. I owe them my life and would like to express my utmost gratitude. Understood. The boy ran back inside the city at full speed. We were led inside the city guard garrison and was served some tea. They're really treating us like VIPs. We dealt with the necessary procedures soon after. Beck and Thor were members of the Merchant Guild, so they didn't have any problems entering. I and Cleria, on the other hand, had to pay a 2 silver deposit and were issued some temporary passes. The passes were thin wooden plates with words written on them. Well then, about these bandits you caught. We will record your merits here. However, the reward money will be sent after 2 days. You 2 will have to return here after 2 days to claim the money. Understood. Thank you very much. Yosh, we've managed to solve our money troubles, more or less. After we left the guard station, we immediately headed for Tarusan's mansion. A regal-looking carriage was parked in front of the station, with a person who seemed to be a butler waiting at the side. I have come to receive you, master. Oh, thank you, Jonas. I have troubled you. Teru-san replied. Alan-san, Miss Ria, please go ahead and board this carriage. It would feel better than riding a carriage meant for transporting goods, I reckon. I see. Follow this carriage then, Beck. The cityscape of Gatania was apparently made of the same reddish-brown bricks as the city wall. There was a sense of harmony about it and made for a beautiful sight. Evening was about to arrive, and there were a lot of people milling about the city streets. There were all sorts of people, from housewives coming home from shopping to young men eating out at a roadside stall. Man, I'd like to try eating at those stalls as well. The people got surprised whenever the carriage passed by and hurriedly made way. Well, they may just be avoiding it, because it's a large carriage, and they don't want to get caught in an accident. But it does seem Tarusan held quite an influence in the city based on the attitude of those city guards earlier. Looks like I really lucked out by managing to rescue such a person. I could probably rely on Teru-san if I ever got into trouble in this city. The atmosphere of the surroundings soon changed, and we arrived at a luxurious-looking residential area. The carriage stopped in front of the largest mansion in the area. People who seemed to be employees were lined up on each side of the front gate. Teru-san got off the carriage. Welcome home, master. Yumu, I have made you all worry, everyone. There were actually people shedding tears of joy among the employees. He really was well loved. I, Cleria, Beck and Thor also got off the carriage. Man, this really feels quite grand. Everyone, these people are my saviors. I owe them my life. They are Alan-san, Miss Ria, Beck-kun and Thor-kun. Do give them the warmest welcome. Yes. Everyone, please go ahead and come inside. The butler guy, Jonas-san, respectfully led us in. Well then, how about taking them to the baths first in order for them to refresh themselves? Toru-san suggested. Understood. Please follow me, everyone. Jonas-san led the way. How about you enter first, Ria? Ladies first, as the saying goes. Oh, there is more than one bath, so that would not be necessary, Jonas-san informed. Please follow me, Miss Ria. A young female employee appeared and guided Clearia. Oh man. Looks like Toru-san was really loaded. Just how many baths does this mansion have? Amazing. This is the bath area. Please pardon me if this sounds rude, but do you know the proper way to enter? You need to wash yourself clean first before entering, right? I managed to watch a documentary produced on Earth called On the Holobit once. This looks to be the same type as the hot springs over there. That's exactly the case. Do pardon my earlier presumptuousness. Well then, please take your time and enjoy. We found a dressing room once we went inside. A large wooden hot water bath that looked able to fit 10 people at once could be seen further in. It's our first time to enter into this sort of fancy bath, Alan-san. Beck and Thor looked rather nervous. Well, basically, you just need to wash yourselves clean and enter the hot water bath afterward. It's been a long time since I've gotten a chance to properly wash my body. I left my clothes at the dressing room and went towards the bath area. Beck and Thor hurriedly followed suit. First, you need to draw water using this wooden pail and drench yourselves with it. Then draw some water again and use this. This is a cloth used to wipe your body clean. Oh, they even have this. This seems to be a substitute for body soap. I forgot its name, but I also saw them using it in the documentary. Drench this cloth and then rub it on this rock-like item until foam forms on it. Beck and Thor frantically copied my actions. After it foams up, you then use this cloth to wipe your bodies clean. You also need to use this rock-like item to clean your hair. We soon found ourselves busy with washing up. Beck and Thor seemed to be enjoying themselves quite a bit. It felt like ages since I got to clean my body up like this. Then you need to splash yourselves with water once more to remove the foam. I drew water inside the pail again and used it to wash the foam off. After that, we can finally enjoy immersing ourselves in the hot water bath. I slowly entered the bath. The water had the perfect temperature. Phew, that feels good. Having a quick shower pales in comparison. Baths are really great, aren't they, Alan-san? Thor nodded in agreement at Beck's statement. Yeah, they're the best. We thoroughly enjoyed the hot water bath. After soaking for quite some time, we finally decided to get out. Let's get out of the bath after drying ourselves properly. I quickly dried myself up. Beck and Thor imitated my actions. We found Jonas-san waiting for us in the dressing room. I have taken liberties to prepare clothes for you to change to. Please leave your previous clothes to us. We shall wash them for you. That's quite the service. I gave my body a final wipe with a towel and changed into the clothes they prepared for us. They fit us three perfectly. They look to be the same type of clothes as what the employees were wearing, but seem to be more luxurious. We have also prepared your meal. The room we were led to next was large enough to host a party, with long tables lined with all kinds of dishes inside. We found Teru-san already sitting on the master's seat. Looks like Teru-san also had a bath first. How was the bath, Alan-san? It was great. It's been a long time since I had one, so I really enjoyed it. We sat on the seats we were guided to. If it's all right with you, I have arranged for us to have dinner together with my family and employees in a banquet. I have greatly worried them after all, and wish for them to feel at ease. Of course we don't mind. I really don't prefer a formal atmosphere, so having a lively banquet seems better. I somehow felt that you would prefer it as well. The employees then proceeded with the preparations. Cleria has also finally arrived. She has also come after taking a bath. She was wearing an elegant one-piece dress. Master. Beck and Thor's jaws dropped in shock. Now that I think about it, they haven't really seen Cleria wear anything besides her armor. What, you two? Does something look out of place? Cleria tried to inspect her appearance. No, not at all. You look really beautiful, Master. So we didn't recognize you and thought you were someone else at first. How rude, you two. She then sat beside me. How do I look, Alan? She seems fairly confident, The dress seems to have been prepared for her as well. It really suits you, Ria. Just a bit of lip service for the lady. I see. She seemed a bit embarrassed somehow after hearing my compliment. People, who I assume were Teru-san's family members, entered one after the other next. They took their seats opposite us. There was a woman who seemed to be Teru-san's wife, a son who looked to be in his 20s and a daughter who looked to be about 14. I am Teru's wife, Lana. This is our son Katol and our daughter Tara. I'm Katol. My name is Tara. We introduced ourselves as well. I'm called Alan. This is Ria and those young men are Beck and Thor. Ria gave an elegant greeting. Beck and Thor bowed humbly as well. I am really grateful for you saving my husband. He would surely have been killed if Alan-san did not rescue him in time. No, I only did what I had to do. Please do not mind it too much. Very well. You are now all acquainted with each other. We should begin our meal. The employees have also started sitting on the seats. We had a toast first. We poured some wine on our glasses. Let us have some good fun tonight. Well then, to my miraculous meeting with Alan-san and company. Cheers. Cheers. All sorts of new dishes were brought out one after another. They were all placed on large plates. It looks like it really was a dinner banquet like what we had in the village, and it was up to you to take how much food you like. I proceeded to get some dishes while minding my manners. There were a lot of empty plates stacked on the table, so it was quite convenient. There were a lot of different meat and egg dishes, salads, breads and other food. Beck and Thor didn't make a move at first, but eventually took some food from the plates following Cleria and my example. Cleria didn't gobble all the food up like usual, but took small, elegant bites instead. But even so, her eating speed was shockingly fast. Looks like she's gonna eat a fair amount again. Every dish was delicious. They were really great dishes. It was evident that each dish was made with great care and effort. I've only ever eaten food seasoned mostly with salt and pepper since coming to this planet, so getting to taste these complex flavors was a refreshing experience. I'll have to ask the chefs about the seasonings they used later. Toru-san was also eating quite heartily. It looks like he hasn't had a proper meal since getting captured by bandits. I should have made something earlier for him after all. Phew, that was really filling. Clearia, Beck and Thor were still stuffing themselves though. Oh boy. Let's just drink some wine. How was the taste of the dishes, Alan-san? Each of them was splendid. I really enjoyed them a lot. I also happen to like cooking and treat it as my hobby of sorts. Would it be possible for me to inquire about the seasonings used by your chefs later on? Of course you can. I own a general store after all. We have every ingredient I'm selling as merchandise stocked in our kitchen as well. I'm looking forward to it then. Ma, it sure is rare for a man to have cooking as a hobby. What dishes can you make, if you don't mind me asking? Madame Lana inquired. Well, just a bit of everything, I guess. Because the seasonings and ingredients I could use were limited, I've been cooking just meat dishes lately. I can actually also make sweets. I actually want to try cooking any dish at least once. Ma, being able to make sweets sounds lovely. Would it be fine for you to make something for us to sample tomorrow? Of course. That is, if there are ingredients even an amateur like me can handle, however. Do they have some sugar? How about milk? It could be bad if they didn't. I'm looking forward to that as well then. Ma, then please have a look at all the ingredients we have later. Oh boy. I think I just shot myself in the foot, man. That reminds me, Father. An apostle actually came to Gatania a few days back. An apostle? No, Tara. It isn't confirmed if it was an apostle or not yet. What do you mean, Katol? 2 days before, a figure resembling a large bird appeared above Gatania's skies, Father. A bird? Was it not a large eagle? No, it was probably as large as a wyvern. The entire city was thrown into an uproar because of it. What? It was something that large. And it wasn't a wyvern. No, its method of flight was completely different. Its wings didn't flap, and seemed really similar to how an eagle hovered in the air. The city did not receive any damage, I hope. There was none. It just hovered up in the air for some time, and then disappeared completely. Phew. And why would you think it was an apostle? It's because of what Johann's merchant team experienced 3 days ago. They were said to have been attacked by at least 10 greyhounds, and that bird appeared and saved them. How did it save them? Their retelling seems somewhat vague, actually. They only said something resembling God's lightning descended from the heavens above and smote those monsters to death. After that, it flew over their merchant team for a while, seemingly checking for their safety, and then suddenly disappeared. So when that mysterious bird appeared above the skies of Gatania, Johann and his merchant team made a large fuss and kept claiming that it was actually an avatar of the Apostle Isaac who serves goddess Ramina's. That rumor has been spreading all throughout Gatania lately. I see. So something like that happened while I was away. I really don't think it was an apostle or anything. It's quite a fishy-sounding story, in any case. It's probably just a rare, yet undiscovered monster. I'll shoot it down with my rifle if it appears again. It might sell for quite a bit of cash after all. The meat could be valuable as well. Come to think of it, which merchant group are you planning to sell your goods to, Beck-Kuan, Thor-Kuan? Katol inquired to the two boys. We were planning to go with Simon Company. Beck replied. Katol and Taru-san quickly exchanged pensive glances. That's a curious reaction. Is there something wrong? Simon Company doesn't actually have a good reputation among us merchants. But it's not like they are using blatantly fraudulent means. Put simply, they try to buy at very low prices from suppliers and sell the goods to consumers at a significantly marked up price. Of course, it's a method used by most merchants as well. But Simon Company is particularly aggressive when it comes to dialing down the prices when buying from suppliers. Have you signed some sort of formal contract with Simon Company? No, we haven't. But we've been dealing with them since my grandfather's generation, it seems. Ah, I see. I also knew the previous owner of Simon Company myself, and he was a wonderful person who did honest business. When he died and got replaced by the current owner, their reputation began to go south. Taru-san claimed. Is that really the case? So the price of cotton falling these past few years was actually because... Yes. Actually, it's the opposite. The price of cotton has been steadily going on the rise these past few years. I could assess the value of your goods tomorrow instead if you'd like. Katol offered. But of course you aren't obligated to sell to us after the assessment. You could choose to do so only if you're satisfied with the offer. Taru-san followed up. We'll be in your care then. But won't Simon Company cause trouble because of this? Beck inquired. You do not have to worry about a thing. They won't be able to do anything, because you haven't signed any sort of exclusivity contract with them. However, if they still choose to stir up trouble regardless, I'll be the one to take them on. Taru-san displayed a scary expression befitting a shrewd merchant. Now then, let us leave the talk about business at a later time. Please send out more drinks. Taru-san called out to someone who looked to be the employee's supervisor. Afterward, we drank without restraint and entered into a really festive mood. Taru-san and his wife withdrew early, but Beck, Thor, and Katol were hitting it off because of their similar ages. Cleria and Tara-chan busied themselves with girl talk as well. I was also having a nice conversation with all the mansion employees, and got along well with them as a result. The banquet continued until late at night. It's morning. Please wake up. Yosh, it's morning. It's not like I have a pressing reason for waking up this early. It's just that I've decided to take a morning bath, after hearing that Jonas-san always prepares one every morning at yesterday's banquet. He doesn't heat the water via traditional means like using firewood, but does it via magic instead. Such a wonderful method. I'd also like to try it once I've managed to get myself a house. I left Beck and Thor, who were sleeping in the same room as me, still slumbering away after last night's banquet. I entered the bath. Looks like there was no one else using it. Great. It was nice to enter the bath with others, but it also felt good to have it all to myself. I thoroughly enjoyed the hot bath, and went back to the room. Beck and Thor had just gotten up the moment I entered. Did you just take a bath, Alan-san? That's no fair. You should have called us too. Thor nodded in agreement. Well, you two looked like you were enjoying your sleep, so I didn't try to wake you up. You'll get your goods assessed today, right? You should get ready then. Che, it's still early anyway. We were told they would check them out at 9 in the morning. Ah, is that so? Well then, why don't we count how much money we got from yesterday's incident? Our personal belongings have also been brought inside the room as well. That includes the collection bag with the money. Beck and Thor quickly warmed up to the idea. We poured the coins out and started counting them. We began snatching gold coins from each other midway for some reason. All in all, we had 92 pieces of copper, 75 pieces of large copper, 41 pieces of silver, 25 pieces of large silver, and 19 pieces of gold coins. Whoa! It's my first time seeing this much money, Thor exclaimed. Great! There's plenty of gold coins. All in all, the total is 219,942 guineas. Let's see. You two's share would be. Alan-san. We too thought it over. YC. We won't be taking any of that money after all. Beck interjected. But why? Well, isn't that money what Alan-san earned after entering the bandit hideout? Beck continued. We really didn't do anything to help with that, so taking a share of the money just doesn't feel right. Thor followed up. But all of us risked our lives yesterday, right? All of us shared the same risk of dying. That may be the case, but the one who defeated the bandits and raided their hideout was Alan-san. We just looked after the captured bandits and tied them up. We didn't contribute much at all. And besides, Alan-san and Master would continue your travels after this, right? I'm sure you'll need all the money you can get. I see. I understand. I really appreciate your goodwill, guys. Thank you for leaving this money to us. But I'll still give you a share of the bandit bounty when we receive them. I won't budge on that, okay? All right. Thank you very much, Alan-san. Why do they pay more if we turn over living, healthy-looking bandits anyway? What are the authorities gonna use them for? What do they use living bandits for? They're gonna turn them into ******. They're gonna end up chained and made to work in mines for the rest of their lives. I'll update the language database. Let's translate that as slaves. Bet this is going to be blown up if the Imperial Ethics Committee ever gets wind of it. Oh well. Looks like those guys are gonna be worked to the bone. So that's why one living bandit can be exchanged for 5 large gold coins, huh? 15 guys are worth 75,000 guineas. That means each of us gets 18,750 guineas. 18,750 guineas. Oi, oi. It's still early morning, so don't make a racket, you two. Sorry. That'll be 1 gold coin, 8 large silver coins, 7 silver coins, and 5 large coppers. That's a lot of money, all right. Thor exclaimed in amazement. The door was suddenly flung open, and Cleria entered with a huff. She was wearing a one-piece dress, that looked similar to the one she wore for last night's banquet. "Why are you gentlemen making such a ruckus so early in the morning?" "But, Master, Alan San just said we'll get 18,750 guineas each from the bounty rewards for the bandits we captured yesterday. That's a lot, right?" "I see, so that's why. You aren't surprised. More importantly, what are your plans for today, Alan?" "Well, let's see. I was thinking about registering at the Adventurers Guild. I'll need to get an official identification permit anyway. Then, I'll come along as well. Let's buy some clothes and equipment on the way too, Alan. I'd been concerned about it ever since we started traveling to the city." "I'm fine with buying new clothes. But I guess you're thinking of getting me a set of armor similar to what you had equipped, right? I kinda don't like them all that much, to be honest. Won't they restrict my movements?" "It would be awesome if they were like a standard issue Galactic army-powered suit though. We could get some leather armor if you don't like ones made of metal. Leather armor won't hinder your movements much." "I see. That does seem to be the case. Yeah, I'll go and take a look, then. It would be best if we purchase armor before going to the Adventurers Guild. Thor and I tried registering last year without a single piece of armor or weapons on us, and we were immediately turned away at the entrance. It didn't help that we lacked 5 silvers each for the registration fee." "Why's that? You can still do your job even if you didn't have weapons or armor, right? You'll get tested to assess your overall strength before you can register." "You mean something like a comprehensive test?" "Yeah, that's probably it." "I see. It looks like we really need to purchase some new equipment then. Let's take a look at the shops later." "Oh, and Alan, I'll need to talk to you about something once we get back." Cleria addressed me with a serious expression. Well, finally. I was honestly itching to ask her again myself, if she still didn't come around. "Understood. Let's have a good talk when we come back." We heard someone gently knocking on the door from the outside. "Everyone, it is Jonas. We have prepared your breakfast." We were then led back to the spacious room where the banquet was held yesterday night. We didn't find anyone else aside from our group. I guess we really did wake up early. The amount of food was comparable to last night's, so Cleria and the boys were really satisfied. After the meal, Jonas-san offered to bring us some tea. "Jonas-san, do you know any good weapon and equipment shops you can recommend to us?" "Let's see. It would seem like I'm promoting our own shop, but I'd still like you to patronize one owned by our master's family." "Oh, so they even have an equipment shop, huh? Well, I guess it'll be okay if it's Teru-san's shop. We'd like to purchase some new equipment, so could you tell us where it's located?" "Please wait for a moment. I'll write you a letter of introduction as well." "Thank you very much. Please do so." Jonas-san wrote the letter while we were drinking our tea. He was as prompt as usual. "It's named Katol Equipment Shop. Please show this to the store manager once you arrive there. I'll have Willie here guide you." So it's Katol's shop, huh? Willie was the young man we met at the city gate yesterday. "Thank you very much. When would be the best time for us to visit the store?" The store should have already opened by now. Adventurers tend to be early risers after all. We'll get going then. One more thing, Alan-san. Everyone is looking forward to the matter we discussed yesterday. Milady and the young Miss Tara are especially excited about it. Ah, I nearly forgot. I really dropped the ball yesterday night, huh? Of course. I'd work on it straight away after we come back. We waited for Cleria to change into her armor and left the mansion together. The weather looks perfect today as well. The shop was a good 15-minute walk away from the mansion. It was smaller compared to the other shops in the vicinity, but it looked better maintained and seemed quite orderly. We entered straight away. You can go back now, Willie. Don't you still have some other work to do? It's all right. I was tasked to be your guide for today, Alan-san. I see. We'll be in your care then. We saw lots of armor lined up on the racks the moment we entered the store. Armor sets made of metals seemed to be more common. The interior arrangement was also quite neat and orderly. 2. Welcome. A middle-aged man was manning the shop counter. We want to purchase some armor, sir. Oh, and we were told to show you this as well. I handed over the introduction letter. The shop clerk gave it a quick scan. Well now, I guess I really have to give the best service to Master Saviors. What kind of armor are you looking for, by the way? Well, we haven't really decided yet. But I'd like to get something that wouldn't restrict my movements much, if possible. So armor made of metals won't do, I guess. Right. Metal armors are generally heavy, and would limit your range of motion to certain extents. We'll have to get you a set of leather armor then. We have some good quality ones right over there. We were guided to the leather armor section. There's a lot of different kinds. The prices ranged from 300 to 30,000 guineas and up. The designs didn't differ by much, but there was quite a difference in prices. What's different between them? It's the materials they are made of. The cheap ones are made from orc hide. The more expensive ones are made out of wyvern hide. So the more expensive ones are higher in quality. Yes, that is the case. The properties of the materials used are quite different. The ones made out of orc hide are no different from your usual leather shaped into armor. But these ones made from wyvern hides serve as magic tools as well. Our gazes were led to a black-colored leather armor placed at the back of the store. A magic tool, huh? Interesting. Yes. The common masses generally do not know this, but wyverns and dragons actually use magic in order to fly freely in the sky. I also do not know the exact details, but it's a fact that wyverns are creatures that make use of magic to attain flight. It was also recently discovered that a wyvern's hide would harden via magic whenever it receives a strong enough blow. So they made use of that property to make this armor, huh? This slot in the chest should be for equipping a magic stone, right? I guess the magic stone would supply the magic needed to harden the armor. Yes. Do have a look. This part that covers the arm feels quite soft to the touch, right? I tried touching it, and it was indeed soft. But if you give it a blow like so. The shop clerk gave it a good whack using a wooden sword placed nearby. It did sound like the sword hit a hard surface. Man, that was amazing. So the leather would automatically harden, almost instantaneously, huh? I tried touching it again, and it was back to being soft and pliable. How long does it take for the armor to harden? It would generally take about 1 or 2 seconds. That's amazing. But how tough is it? It can easily take blows from a wooden sword. It can also defend from arrows. It also offers a certain amount of protection from spear thrusts. Greyhound bites would similarly pose no problems. In other words, any attacks ineffective against wyverns would be similarly ineffective against the armor as well. I haven't seen a wyvern yet, but, judging from the description, it seems to be quite a high-level monster. It seems perfect so far. Well, not exactly. It's actually vulnerable to slashing attacks. It's certainly tougher than most leather armors, but it falls short compared to metal ones. Aside from slashes, it also cannot defend from ballista shots. But that should be expected. In short, any attacks effective against wyverns are effective against it as well. I see. Does it have any other drawbacks? It uses magic, so magic stones are a must. It doesn't use up magic if it's not hit with a sufficient amount of force, but once it does take an attack, it uses up quite a bit of magic. The amount of magic that gets used up depends on the strength of the impact. For example, what it's equipped with right now is a magic stone taken from a greyhound. With this level of magic stone, it would run out of power after 100 blows. That's quite the consumption rate. So the armor would turn ineffective once it takes 100 blows from a wooden sword, huh? Yes, that's correct. But this would improve if you supply it with better quality magic stones. Can we swap out magic stones immediately once they're used up? Yes, you definitely can. You just need to slide the magic stone like so and you can easily remove it. You can slide a new one in the same way. There would generally be no problems swapping them out in the middle of battle. How can you tell if the magic has run out? You can only check by looking at the color of the magic stone. The magic stone would turn transparent once the magic energy stored inside it has run out. Cleria gave a timely follow-up. So, how much is it? According to the price tag, it's 35,000 guineas. UN, I'll give you a special 20% discount and sell it for 28,000 guineas then. Great. I'll buy it. We have a lot of money anyway. It would be best to buy some high-quality armor. I want to put it on right away though. Would that be fine? Oi. We still have to make some fine adjustments to armor of this level. It'll take 2 days at most. So it's like that. That's a bit of a problem though. I won't be able to use it for the Adventurers Guild test, then. Is there something wrong? I was hoping to use it when I register at the Adventurers Guild later. You're telling me you actually aren't an adventurer yet? Yeah. But I'm quite confident in my skills, so you don't have to worry about me. Well, I guess. But that was still quite a surprise. I see. So you'll need armor for the ranking test, huh? Ranking test. Do you not know? It would not be appropriate for people with sufficient skills like you to be assigned a basic rank. So a test for determining the most proper starting rank according to your abilities is necessary. But, well, even if you get full marks, you'll still need to start from C rank though. I see. So that's what the test is for. I can lend you some second-hand leather armor if you want. I'll lend it to you until we finish the adjustments to the armor you bought. But the quality's not that good though. That's fine. How much is it? It's all right. I'll lend it out for free. Consider it as extra service. I see. Thanks a lot for doing this. Right then. Here's the gold. I brought all the gold coins just in case. I took out 2 gold coins and 8 large silvers from the bag and gave it to the shopkeep. Oh, you sure are one wealthy fellow. Thank you for your patronage. That reminds me, I haven't introduced myself yet. The name's Zaluke. My name's Alan. This lady here is Ria. I've been curious since a while ago. Is it just me, or is the armor that lady is wearing really made of mithril? Yes, this armor in fact is made of mithril. Truly. The shopkeep became flustered and went up to Cleria in order to check out her armor. Cleria was surprised by his sudden actions. I'm truly sorry. I have a nasty habit of forgetting myself whenever I see some excellent equipment. It's indeed made out of mithril. And from the looks of it, the forger is one heck of a master in the craft. However, could you come this way first, dear customer? The shopkeep grabbed my arm and dragged me to the side. Oi, is that lady ***? There's that unknown word again. Well, I can already make a rough guess about what it means though. She might be. I'm not clear about her circumstances either though. I see. So there seem to be some special circumstances. But walking around wearing that is kinda bad, you know. You can tell at first glance that her armor's made of mithril. That wouldn't be a problem if she were in the company of a large number of guards. But you'll most likely be targeted if it were just you folks and her walking about. Is it really that valuable? It sure is. Let's see. In this shop, selling it for 40,000 guineas is still considered cheap. It costs that much. Yeah. And that design is exquisite. It seems based on the armor ordinary knights and adventurers wear, but the design philosophy is completely different. The one that little lady is wearing is an armor fit for royal knights. In the eyes of others, it's completely obvious that she's ***. I checked out the metal armor sets being sold at the shop. It doesn't look all that different to me though. It's completely different. Ria, can you come over here for a sec? I moved my gaze back and forth between Cleria's armor and the metal armor sets in the store, but I still couldn't spot the difference. But they really look the same to me. Aren't they? They are absolutely, positively different, I tell ya. Zaluke replied enthusiastically. Just look at this line here. This doesn't appear in the other armor sets, correct? And take a gander at this section here. It's of a completely different design. This section too. And this one as well. Well, now that I've taken a closer look, it does seem kinda different. Maybe. I think. Hey, is it possible to modify this armor so it wouldn't look like mithril? Well, if we darken the color a bit, it should be able to fool the untrained eye. Can you make it so the design would look like that of an ordinary adventurer's armor? I can do that. But it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this armor a fine work of art. Are you sure you want to do something like that to it? We don't really mind. Right, Ria? It's fine with me. Please modify it so people wouldn't be able to recognize it as mithril. The design should look like what normal adventurers use. Please be sure to modify it thoroughly. How much would it cost, and how long would it take to modify the armor? Ah, that's such a waste. Well, I'd need 3 days. It'll cost you 5,000 guineas. It's unexpectedly cheap. I took out another 5 large silvers from the bag and handed them over. Well then, we'll leave Ria's armor to you once we're done with our business at the Adventurers Guild. I'll pick up mine after 3 days as well. Understood. I'll need to take your measurements. Please come over here for a bit. The shopkeep proceeded with taking my measurements and adjusted the armor he's going to lend me accordingly. It took about 1 hour. The Adventurers Guild is already open, right? Yes, they're usually already open by daybreak. I, Cleria and Willie finally headed towards the Adventurers Guild. Willie, how far do we need to walk to get to the Adventurers Guild? It's just nearby. It's that large building over there. Willie pointed toward a large, 3-story building. It seemed to take up 5 times the space compared to the buildings surrounding it. There were a lot of people, who looked like adventurers hanging out at the building's entrance. It seemed like they were waiting for something or someone. They might be waiting for other members of their respective groups. We entered straight away. The reception counters are that way. There were 2 reception counters lined up inside the building. The receptionist at one counter was busy talking to an adventurer about something. We went over to the free counter. The receptionist was a young woman. Excuse me. We'd like to register as adventurers, please. Is this the right counter? Yes. The both of you will be registering. Yes, that's right. Me and this girl here. Well then, please fill out this registration form first. Oh. The only things I can write at the moment are my and Cleria's names. I'll write for you, Alan. Cleria offered. Really? I'll leave it to you then. Cleria promptly filled out both our forms. I hope there's no problem with the info she wrote. Well, it's not like they can find out whether or not the stuff written in my ID in this world is true anyway. I guess there would be no problems. But I need to learn how to read and write the characters soon. I'm sure Nanam would be able to update the database if I get someone to read a book aloud while I sit beside them or something. I wonder where I could buy some books. Cleria finished writing and handed the forms back to the receptionist. The receptionist gave the forms a quick check. She seemed to be quite surprised after reading them and stared hard at Cleria and me. I'm sorry, but is what's written in these forms true? The receptionist pointed at the forms and asked Cleria. There's no mistake. Was there something wrong with the info she wrote on the forms? Understood. The registration fee is 5 silver coins per person. I handed the receptionist 2 large silvers. I've received the payment. Well then, the 2 of you will need to undergo the rank assessment test next. The rank assessment test is meant to measure the overall abilities of the 2 of you. We will be able to determine the most appropriate starting rank for both of you after the test. Do you need me to explain the ranking system? I and Cleria nodded. The Adventurers Guild receives various kinds of quests every day. Escort missions, monster extermination, material collection, and so on. The guild reviews the quests and assigns an appropriate difficulty rank for each of them. In order to fulfill these quests more efficiently, the adventurers are also given corresponding ranks, and will be able to undertake quests with a similar or lower rank as theirs. They can also undertake quests one rank above them if they chose to do so. The ranks for both quests and adventurers are as follows: F, E, D, C, B, A, and S, with S being the highest. 7 ranks all in all. As an example, an F rank adventurer is only allowed to take F or E rank quests. Have I managed to explain clearly enough? Man, this girl's amazing. She just explained all of that in one breath. She should have given this spiel at least hundreds of times already. Yes, there's no problem. Cleria nodded in agreement. Well then, I'll talk more about the quests next. The general quests are posted on that wall over there. Following the direction the receptionist pointed towards, we saw a number of adventurers checking out the quests posted on a wall at the side of the building. You can select the quest you want to do from that wall and then report it here. If there are no problems, you will be assigned to complete that particular quest. It's first come, first served. You are given a specific deadline to complete each quest. There would be a penalty imposed for failing to complete a quest on time. You can check the penalty for quests here as well. There are also designated quests, which differ from regular ones. These are assigned by the client to a specific adventurer or party to complete. The adventurers are free to decide whether or not to accept the quests. There's also compulsory quests. These are only issued out by the guild in times of emergency. You generally cannot refuse these quests. Refusing to do them would result in a grave violation of guild rules, and will have a corresponding heavy penalty. Adventurers are also required to complete at least one quest every 2 months. If one fails to do so, it will result in their rank being lowered by 1 step. In the case of F ranked adventurers, they will immediately face expulsion. Have I managed to explain it clearly so far? Yes, there's no problems. Cleria nodded in agreement once more. Well then, I'll proceed with preparations for your rank assessment tests. In the meantime, please go ahead and read the guild rules and regulations posted on that wall over there. I've already discussed most of the important ones, but some other particulars are written out on there as well. Understood. I headed towards the wall with the guild rules posted on it along with Cleria. The rules were written directly on the face of the wall in bold characters. One would be able to easily read them. Perfect timing. I'll have Cleria read them aloud for me then. Cleria, can I ask you to read the rules aloud for me? You can just whisper them to me if you want. What for? I need to learn the characters. Please. You can learn them just from me reading them aloud. I can. I'm fine with you reading them quickly too. Understood. Cleria nodded and started reading. 2. The guild receptionist, Amy, had another staff member replace her on the counter and went towards the staff room. It was still early in the morning, but there was already 5 male staff inside the staff room. Everyone, it's been so long, but it seems there are some promising new recruits today. But I haven't confirmed it yet though. That again, Amy? The guys that show themselves off like that are usually all weaklings, you know. Well, one of them is a really cute girl. Say what? That sure is rare. I'll be in charge of her then. The girl's cute, but she's wearing some nice armor and seemed like a proper knight. Amy followed up. Man, that sure sounds promising, ain't it? Another staff member chimed in. Let's see. The girl's swordsmanship level is 7 out of 10. Wow. She can also use fire magic. And it's level 8. Oh, that sounds awfully exaggerated, doesn't it? No. The guy with her sounds more amazing. Apparently, both his swordsmanship and magic has reached rank 10. Ahaha. That's rich. How long has it been since we got such jokers? So the two of them can use magic. Did you properly explain what the exams are for? How rude. Of course I did. Amy retorted. All right then. Even if they actually suck at it, let's assume both of them can really use magic. If even just half of what's written in their applications are true, they'll really turn out to be promising rookies. We'll have to do this properly after all, folks. I'd rather believe they couldn't read the forms properly. No, that doesn't seem to be the case. The girl wrote the forms for both of them, but there's nothing to complain about with her penmanship. The characters were all written beautifully, and she also wrote them at a fast pace. There's no chance she's illiterate. Yosh. I'm getting kinda curious now. Let's all go see them, shall we? I'm gonna be in charge of the girl, why here? 2. Cleria just finished reading the rules aloud to me when the receptionist came back. Sorry for the wait. I've finished preparing for your rank assessment tests. Please come with me. Phew, that was tiring. Cleria exclaimed. Sorry, you were a great help. I completed the update and confirmed that I could now read the rules written on the wall. All right. I'll just have to update the database a few more times and I'll be set. Oh yeah. Can you wait for us here, Willie? I understand. We were led to another building next to the guild. Its side walls were 30 meters long, its front and back were 20 meters, and its height was 10 meters. It was another fairly large building. It should be a sort of gymnasium. There were a lot of objects, which looked like stationary targets lined up on the far at the back of the gym. I saw 5 guys, who looked like guild staff, standing nearby. We're going to serve as your proctors during the test. So, you both specialize in swordsmanship, right? You two are going to engage in practice matches, with one of us each here for the swordsmanship test. Listen up. This isn't about winning or losing. It's not like you'll automatically fail if you lose the match. We're going to rank your skills objectively, so be sure to give it all you've got. First up is Ria. Come out front. Do your best, Ria. All right. The examiner, who was gonna serve as Cleria's opponent, handed her a wooden sword used for practice. Her opponent was a guy who looked to be in his 30s. They'll take some distance from each other first, and then the match will start. Ready. Begin. Both of them held up their swords and stood in place. Cleria was watching for an opening. The examiner moved one step forward as a feint in order to bait her, but Cleria remained motionless. The examiner looked quite composed as he gradually shortened the distance. And once he neared a certain distance, he greatly raised his sword overhead, as if inviting her. As soon as he did so, Cleria made her move and rushed straight for him. She was so fast that the examiner had no choice but to execute a downward slash. But Cleria has already anticipated that and agilely dodged to the side. Afterward, she started to unleash her sword rush. The examiner swung widely and ruined his stance. Cleria didn't give him the chance to reorient himself and rushed him with a furious flurry of sword attacks. The examiner was finally made to drop his sword. Cleria promptly stopped her rush and placed her sword next to the examiner's throat. Match over. Cleria taught Beck and Thor the basics of swordsmanship while we were on the road, but it's not like that's all she did. She had Beck and Thor do sword swing practice from time to time and invited me over for some practice matches. The swordsmanship I know is basically limited to rushes and combos. I just focused on unleashing as many attacks as I could. But it can't be helped. That kind of fighting style was really popular in the school I attended back then after all. If I didn't practice this kind of fighting style as well, I probably would have been left out during conversations with my buddies. I had no choice but to teach Cleria how to make effective rushes. I would show an opening, Cleria would close in, and I would counter her with a sword rush. We repeated this kind of practice match lots of times. Thanks to that, my defensive skills have actually improved as well. Both I and Cleria could easily read the examiner's movements. Cleria wouldn't let an opening like that slip. That examiner seems to have underestimated Cleria a bit. All right, good job. We'll take a look at your magic next. The lead examiner from earlier loudly announced. We moved towards the area where the targets were placed. It looks like we need to cast magic 15 meters away from the targets. We'll have you cast your magic and try to hit those 5 targets over there. You specialize in fire magic, correct? Cast the fire spell you're best at. We'll rate you by taking the time it takes for you to hit all 5 targets, as well as how close to the center your spells land. We'll start measuring the time immediately after we tell you to begin. Begin. Cleria raised both her hands, making 3 arrows of flame appear before her. They flew toward each target, and proceeded to hit them right in the center one after another. It looks like she was preparing to cast her spell even before they told her to start. I hope that won't count as a violation. 8 seconds after she cast the first spell, 2 more arrows of flame appeared and flew towards the remaining targets. They both hit the target's dead center as well. It looks like she still can't manage to release 5 arrows simultaneously. There was no shout signaling the end of the test. Cleria turned toward the examiner in puzzlement. It was only then that the examiner managed to proclaim test over in a fluster. Amazing. What the heck was that? That's impossible. Looks like it impressed the examiners a lot. Cleria's certainly improved her magic casting time greatly compared to before. After getting to know that what's most important for casting magic was to build a concrete image, she tirelessly casted magic every moment she could, even while lying down on top of the luggage. She repeatedly fired magic while facing toward the sky at those times. And the results of that are showing right now. The examiners huddled together and were discussing animatedly. Are they discussing about the violation from earlier? Okay. Ria's magic assessment is now over. Great job. Alan, you're up next. We'll do your magic assessment right now. Looks like that early start was considered okay after all. I see. So that's acceptable, huh? I stood in front of the targets, just like Cleria earlier. Begin. Immediately after I heard the signal to start, I materialized 5 flame arrows in front of me and fired them towards the targets. I constructed an image of flame arrows that were faster than normal ones by several times, so they flew towards the targets with blinding speed. It only took me 2 seconds from casting to hitting the targets. How's that? I bet I'd set the record for the fastest cast time, folks. Eh? They're not yelling test over, aren't they? Did I cast my magic too fast? I took a look at the exam proctors and found them petrified. AR. T test over. It seems they didn't manage to measure the time properly. I hope that's okay. Alright. We'll assess Alan's swordsmanship level next. The examiners huddled together and discussed something again. Maybe they were choosing my practice opponent. It looks like they finally decided, and one examiner stepped forward. Ready. Begin. The examiner didn't make any moves. It looks like he's scoping me out. He's still not moving. It'll take forever at this rate, so I decided to take a step forward. Instead, the opponent took a step back. I tried stepping forward again. The opponent stepped back once more. Hey, he's not actually scared of me, isn't he? I tried stepping forward again. And he took another step backward, like earlier. Man, this is getting a bit bothersome. I'll try rushing him with a basic combo then. It was a basic 3/sword combo, but it would leave me a bit open while rushing towards the enemy. But in exchange, it also allowed me to finish off opponents swiftly if it successfully connects. I feinted by taking one step, like I did earlier, and prepared to unleash the combo. I rushed towards the opponent and made use of the momentum to deliver a strong upward slash. Now for the other 2 follow-up slashes, which I couldn't actually perform. I noticed that the first slash actually managed to send the opponent's sword flying out of his hand. As a result, I could only place my sword near the opponent's throat. Match over. The rank assessment tests are now over. We'll announce the results later on. Please wait at the area near the receptionist counters for the meantime. That was surprisingly quick, huh? I went back to the guild building with Cleria. Is the test really over with that? It seems so. Perhaps they have other things to tend to. Guess so, huh? 2. The examiners went back to the staff room together. Oi, what the heck are those 2? Seriously, what are they? Rather than that, what was up with you on that last match, man? You were scared, **tles. Well, it's true that Kenny was overwhelmed. But that speed and sword slash were the real deal.